they want to stop an emotion from happening because of something that happened in the past. And then, like I said, when your heart is shrouded from yourself, it's shrouded from God. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not shrouded from God, but the connection is not there, if that makes sense. So God can see your heart, but you're not making the choice to give it to him because you're trying to hide it from yourself. So that is definitely something that I would say most people who are not with Christ are experiencing that.
The following is an interview with a Christian, a creative, a great friend, and a great colleague, Levi Brooks, who I met on a Christian short film in Lancaster in 2023, where I met my tribe who accepted me before I knew that I belonged to them. Levi is no exception, someone who I relate to on many levels. He's one of the hardest working people I know, a prayer warrior, deeply rooted in his faith, and has a Ferrari engine of a brain without brakes like me. He's also someone who will apply self-help tools to overcome challenges and barriers through the lens of faith to be more creative in God's mission for him. I am beyond blessed to have him as a friend and a colleague, and I pray that this fellowship with him is just as fruitful for you as it has been for me. And if it is, consider sharing this with someone and praying for this podcast to impact others as well. I thank you for watching. Enjoy. I'm Thomas Proffitt. I've spent 15 years trying to be Nolan and Tarantino, only to realize I was being a doubting Thomas. After narcissistic abuse, the death of a close friend, and nearly losing another to cancer, Christ found me, and he changed my life in filmmaking for the better. Now I'm on a mission to help him do the same for you. If you want to help me with that mission, hit subscribe. I appreciate your encouragement. Welcome to Moviemaker Ministry.
Levi, appreciate you having me. Levi Brooks. So I want to start off with, what's your testimony?
It's a good question. I would say I didn't have like a one-time sort of prayer where I was like, I know the day that I was saved. But to take it all the way back to my childhood, my family, I was raised in Tennessee mostly, and my family went to church. Like I live with just my mom and my brother. So we went to church, and I kind of remember some moments of that. But then when we moved up to Pennsylvania, we stopped going as much. And I started growing older, and I was very intellectual, I guess. Learning, like to know a lot, like to have a lot of information. And so when I was, probably about 12 to 14, I was attending church with my grandparents, but I would say I was mentally, I was very atheistic. And I had this sort of mentality of like, I'm acting well enough, I'm behaving well enough. Excuse me. I'm behaving well enough that I can get away with people thinking I'm a Christian, and I'm not disappointing the culture around me. While at the same time, looking back at it now, it's very obvious that I wasn't serious, that I wasn't real about my faith, because when I see people that are trying to cover up their lack of faith, I can kind of tell. I feel like the deeper you get into it, the more easy it is to tell. So I wasn't fooling anybody, now that I think about it. But I would attend church. My pastor, Kyle Keener, he was very, very good with the intellectual. He appreciated that I was thoughtful. He appreciated that I was skeptical. And I think that having that was very powerful for me, because it allowed me to, stick around, I guess. It wasn't like I was always facing opposition. It wasn't like I was being told I was an idiot or anything, but it was, I felt appreciated. But at the same time, I still felt like the sort of sneakiness. Like I felt like I was winning, but like I said, I really wasn't fooling anyone. So when I would say probably about 16 years old, I went with that church to a youth conference called Momentum, which it's like a big, 3,000 kids in one place youth conference, whole week long. They're preaching, twice a day, everything like that. And there was an apologist named Sean McDowell who showed up. And you might be familiar with Josh McDowell, his father. And now his son is also making his rounds doing apologetics, Scott McDowell. So it's a whole generation here, 3 generations. But Sean spoke about the reliability of the Gospels as just historical account. And there's a lot of pieces of evidence, a lot of physical pieces of evidence, manuscripts, thousands of manuscript documents, and textual criticism is another piece of the manuscript where you can determine with a high level of accuracy what the earliest documents said, because if there's any differences, we can cross-reference with thousands of other pieces of documentation. So he built a really strong historical case for the gospel. And so I'm sitting there with my, I would say, nihilistic atheist mind, where I didn't think anything really mattered. I just kind of like went through the motions of stuff, which caused depression in me subconsciously. I didn't realize it was happening, but that affected me very deeply. And that moment where he was laying out the evidence, I was sitting there. I'm like, I can't really argue against this. I can't just be like, oh, it's just an old book. Like, all of my sort of arguments, there's some merit to, some philosophical thoughts I might have had, but I really had no leg to stand on when it came to the atheistic perspective that I was like hiding, I guess. And so I was convinced by his arguments. And so I started reading the Gospels, or just the Bible in general, with a different sort of perspective. I also really opened up into the Old Testament. I used to be very bored of the Old Testament. I was like, this is just boring, like, verse after verse of this guy did this, this guy did that. Until I realized that it was historical. And I also realized that there's a big message to come out of that. But anyway, all I had to say, over time, reading the Gospels, seeing them as real history, like, oh my gosh, like this is reliable history. Then I became convinced that Christ is Lord, that he died for our sins, and it's unreasonable to believe otherwise in terms of historically. And then God just worked in my heart more and more until I came to a point where, again, I don't have a specific date, but I came to a point where I trusted in Jesus with my life, with my soul. And so I said it very quickly, but it's a long, arduous process of going through that. So I would say I was probably about 16 years old and I really came into the faith. I mean, I was living in it, but I wasn't living it, Yeah.
What was the biggest criticism that you had that you needed to ask someone about that was it Sean McDowell pointed out? Mm-hmm. Was it just like the history of it?
The mythological nature of it was very obvious to me. That was something where it's like, oh, you believe in fairy tales if you believe in God, or if you believe in Jesus as a figure or whatever. And there was also this thought that I see a lot of people deal with today, especially the nihilistic side of things, is you just need God to help yourself feel better about life, because you know that life has no meaning. You know that stuff doesn't matter, and that makes you sad. It doesn't make me sad because I'm strong. I'm mentally strong. I have fortitude, and I know, I know everything. I know what I need to know. I know what I need to do, but I really didn't. I just felt that way. And so that was another criticism that I had, was like, well, you just can't handle the truth, so you run to God for comfort. And there are people who do that, which is what we call blind faith, but most people, I don't think, believe that way. And I think I also was very harsh against experiential evidence, where a person who had an experience with God, and it's just like, you probably had psychosis or something like that. Something in your head was just twisted up, and that's why you had that experience. Or somebody was playing music really emotionally, and that's why you had that experience. But having had those experiences now, you can't exactly use them against a very intellectual atheist, but you can use them for yourself. That strengthens your own faith, and to other believers who hear the stories and they trust you, it strengthens their faith as well. So The experiential stuff, yeah, I was like, oh, you're just, that's emotionalism. You're just, living in a echo chamber of sorts. But being on the other side of it, it's very much, I mean, you can't deny your own subjective experience at times.
Yeah, I experienced a lot of, I think what brought me back was not experiential things necessarily, but it was a lot of synchronicities where, and I didn't even know what the word was for it. I just was noticing these things that was way beyond, it was beyond mere chance.
Yeah.
And little did I know that there was people like Carl Jung, I think it was Carl Jung, writing about that as synchronicities, and now I'm learning about like Christian mysticism and things that I got to be discerning about.
Yeah.
But it's like that was what led me in. Did you feel like people who had those experiences, it was all in their head, it was a psychological thing?
Definitely. Give me one sec.
Yeah, I felt like with me, like looking at in like high school, I remember I went through a phase where I was really into psychology, or what I thought was psychology, and trying to understand the human mind, thinking that everything originated from there, and all of our problems, all those things, which technically maybe all of our problems do originate from there, but just kind of thinking that God originated from there.
Yeah.
And I tried looking down that path, and like, can you tell me about that feeling of just depression that comes about that you didn't know about? Because I can relate to that.
Yeah. So I think I started to realize it when I used to wrestle in high school. And when I was in 9th grade, there were, whenever I was like waiting on the team or waiting to move to the next thing, I would just be sitting by myself, and my coach would walk up to me and he'd be like, "Why are you so depressed, man? Why do you look so depressed?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, bro? I'm just chilling here. I'm just waiting." And I didn't realize that I actually was. I don't know if I'd identify it as clinical. I mean, I'm not a clinician or anything, or a doctor, but it was very heavily affecting me, and I just didn't even notice it. I also I dealt with stress on a very like extreme level, but I didn't realize it. I thought I was like totally blank, like with my emotions, I guess. Excuse me. And I think that's resulted from trying to over-intellectualize myself, and just the thought that emotions are going to cause you to think ridiculous things like God exists. If I have an emotion because somebody died, then death nudges on your heart to look to God. You know what I mean? And in my head, I was like, people who live that way, who look to God when death happens, they're doing that because they can't handle death. So there was a lot of things shrouding my way to my heart. And the way to my heart is also shrouding the way to God's heart, because obviously you connect with God emotionally. And so it's just denying a legitimate part of the human life, which is feeling emotions, feeling love. That was another thing that helped me come out of that, was realizing that love isn't just like a physical reaction or an emotion. It's a choice to sacrifice because you value that other person, or you see the dignity that they have. And if God doesn't exist, you don't see that same dignity in people, because what value do they have besides they're just accidental, sort of materialistic, accidental beings, if that makes sense.
You hit on it, shrouded your heart. Do you feel like people who they don't have that relationship with Christ, they're not actually opening their heart? Do you feel like that's the case, or they're like, because I can relate to that in a sense of, I for a while thought I had fear of intimacy, but I think it was fear of intimacy not with women, but it was like fear of intimacy with the Lord.
Yeah.
And because when I found my way back to Christ, that's actually, it changed my dating life. I think there's some truth to that, where it's like, is it just for people who were chosen by him, you think? They experience that, where like they were designed to be in relationship with him, and they kind of, if they turn away from him, it shrouds their own heart? Or does that happen for anyone?
I think that's a good question. The first thing you sort of said, oh, hi. She needs something. I don't know what she needs. Attention,
That's the thumbnail. Sorry.
Yeah. So you mentioned the shrouding the heart, and I'm trying to think of the exact word you said. You said something in there that really it hit something for me.
It was do you feel like people have their heart not open?
Yeah. Okay, yes. I would say, sorry, getting so distracted.
Audrey.
I think most of the people who I would say I don't think are Christians, even people who might think they are, that I don't think they are, it seems like they have some sort of wound from their life that, it blocks their heart. It blocks, they want to stop an emotion from happening because of something that happened in the past. And then, like I said, when your heart is shrouded from yourself, it's shrouded from God. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not shrouded from God, but the connection is not there, if that makes sense. So God can see your heart, but you're not making the choice to give it to him because you're trying to hide it from yourself. So that is definitely something that I would say most people who are not with Christ are experiencing that. Yeah. And even people who are in the church, I would say, everybody experiences that. My pastor says, most adults are just grown up little kids. Like they still are very immature. They still are very, closed off, I guess. And they can't deal with things like a mature adult. And so that's part of it for sure, is the heart. And the question, are certain people sort of chosen to have that connection with God? That's a tough question that gets into, predestination, free will, that sort of conversation. But I would say if you're practically living it out, that is kind of a non-question, I guess, because you still have to actively make decisions. So whether we have free will or not, your brain thinks about things and you have to choose what to do. And so I would say, if people, and I also think accountability, there's this book called Extreme Ownership, which you're probably familiar with.
Yeah.
And I think most people would benefit from living with that mindset of everything that happens to me is because I chose some decision. If I get in a car crash, even if I was driving well, I chose to get in the car. So you need to take a certain level of accountability for everything. And that especially comes with your relationship with Christ. Now, not saying that God doesn't work on our hearts. I think he does. And I think he reveals himself to the world. But you have to step towards him. You have to make the active choice to step towards him. And that's what love is, like I mentioned earlier. It's a choice because you see God's value and you say, I'm going to deny myself and sacrifice my desires, sacrifice my time, sacrifice my whatever, and give it to God as a choice of love. It's, not just an emotion, not just a feeling.
You mentioned when it comes to that God works in our hearts. I feel like when it comes to people, if their heart is open, if they're blocked off by some childhood wound. Like I dealt with that a little bit recently with a retreat I was on. It taught me a lot about wounds that it was keeping me not only from relationships with others, affecting relationships with others, but affecting my relationship with God.
Yeah.
Because I was using that to fill me up versus him fill me up.
Yeah.
If you have that relationship with Christ, I feel like only through that have I ever experienced going through him, like you said, working on your heart. I didn't know what that was like. Like I for a while I thought, oh, people thinking that some imaginary God or being is working on them. No, you're working on yourself, I would say. I was always thinking that.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was because I didn't actually go through what it feels like and experience what it looks like when God is actually working on your heart. Like I've noticed him strictly point me towards a different direction when I was going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like recently, like I feel like this is, you could look at this as, oh, this isn't God doing it. This is your own experience. This is something outside of God. I think there's some role he plays in this. It's like, or a big role he plays in this is just going to the ER to figure out that I need to get off energy drinks.
Yeah, yeah.
Shame on you for drinking from it. Just kidding. But no, I'm like figuring out. I just find there's been a lot of moments where you go and you're doing something and deep down, all right, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Yeah. Whether it's thinking a certain way, whether it's idolizing something or having an identity outside of Christ or having an idol. I'm finding more and more I need to spot those before he takes them, because he will take them.
Yeah. And
it's when he takes them, you feel like your consciousness is getting seared like a piece of meat. It's like, it's almost like I've heard it put, it's like a spiritual whip.
Yeah.
You don't want the spiritual whip, and he will use it if you don't learn from what you're doing, and he will nudge you only so many times until he finally sees, all right, this person's not listening. I'm gonna
hand them over to their sin.
Do you find when it comes to do you have those moments in life where you witness him, you see that you're doing something wrong, and then you either learn in the subtle ways he's nudging you, or you wait too long and he sears you? Have you experienced those different outcomes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the searing, honestly, it comes when I lack confession. That's a big part of it. I notice the subtle adjustments happen when I am talking to people who are wiser than me. So I think that's a good. Come on, son. Nice. I missed him twice.
Yeah, it just went past me.
So,
I think I saw one on the camera at one point.
Yeah, so disappointing. So yeah, like my pastor, for example, he's really good at correcting sternly without being a jerk or being rude. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I see dads correcting their kids and like, oh man, you didn't have to like slam him like that. I don't know. I got slammed a lot as a kid, so I just get angry. I'm like, you can correct him without bringing him down, I guess. So for example, my pastor one time saw I was trying to get some of the kids at church to help me with something because we were all serving, moving stuff around, whatever. And two of them were horsing around. And my pastor called his grandson over, who's one of the kids horsing around. And he called him over. He's like, come here. Less fooling, more working. And that's all he said. And that kid started working right away. But I've seen that same kid get yelled at by his sisters and his brothers and his dad. And none of they are saying way more words. They're much more harsh, but it doesn't get through to him at all. And so there's the subtle adjustments can happen, and it's like small bits of character growth like that. Less fooling, more working. Like that's a subtle hint of character growth that happens just from having the conversations. But then, yeah, like I said, when you're hiding stuff, when you're not confessing things, when you're not having conversations, that's when the searing hurts the worst, because you think you're on top of it. You think like, you know what? I hid this. I got it. You know, I'm going to handle this myself. I'm going to take care of it. And then all of a sudden somebody finds out, somebody hears about it, or, you know, whatever. And then stuff comes crashing down. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I think a lot of men especially have dealt with that. I mean, you know, I don't want to say it, but you know what I'm talking about.
I've dealt with that, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a wicked thing. Like, it's wicked to do, and the situation is awful. Like, nobody wants to go through that. But also nobody should be watching porn, you know, at the same time. So it's like I said, those searing moments I feel like are most often just because we are sticking to ourselves, I guess. And that's that give it up to God sort of thought as well, where sometimes people are like, well, how do I give this up to God? Well, just don't hold it in. Like, at the very least, don't hold it in. Actually talk to somebody. Actually talk to somebody wiser than you, if that makes sense.
Do you feel like giving it to God is it bringing it to other people? How much of it is bringing it to other people, and how much of it is lamentation prayers with God, or is it both?
It's definitely both. I would say bringing it to the right people, especially. You don't want to bring it to somebody who's going to use it against you, because then you're giving it to the devil at that point. Yeah, you're giving him a weapon. So you need to trust the people. Like, we've had that conversation with how much should you share in terms of when you're a leader of other people. There are certain things that people need to hear, that certain people need to hear, but not everybody. So you can have those conversations with these people and then leave it out of the big picture, because they're not in the need to know. So, for example, I was reading Psalm 50. Our pastor was preaching on Psalm 50, and there's a section where it talks about these people are giving sacrifices, and they're kind of doing these things to like earn the favor of the Lord, earn the pleasure of the Lord, but their hearts aren't in it. They're just doing the action. And God says, essentially, all of this land is mine. All these cows are mine. All the things that you're sacrificing, it belongs to me. I created it. I'm the owner of it. And there's this one verse that it like struck me so hard. And I think about it every single day. If I was hungry, I would not tell you. That's what God says to the people. It's like, dang, that's like humbling. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, that's right. God, you don't need us, but you want our heart. You know, God doesn't need you to be sacrificing cows. It's part of the law, but he wants your heart first. If you're doing it without the heart, it's valueless. You know what I mean? It's like hermeneutics. When you have a sentence or a message that you're trying to communicate, if somebody doesn't get the message you're communicating, the communication is almost valueless, because they're not picking up what you're trying to say. And so it's like, if your heart's not in it, the sacrifice is valueless. It's not a real sacrifice, if that makes sense, because you're doing it for your own benefit. And so with giving up to God, like I said, you want to do it. You want to do it from the heart, but you want to do it to the right people, because you don't want to be giving this stuff to the devil, and you don't want to be doing it just because of a need for confession either, if that makes sense. It's like, well, I need to confess, this person came over who's not a Christian, who I've known for, a while. I don't know, maybe family member, close, long-term friend. They don't need to know about that stuff. You know what I mean? Not all the time. At some point, you can tell them, but yeah. But then the other side of it, like you said, the lamentation prayers and stuff, that's that humility that Psalm 50 gives. Like, if I was hungry, I would not tell you. Like, that's just like, I don't know. It slams me. Like, I'm like, wow, I've been bringing myself way up to this point where God needs to tell me this stuff. It's like, God, I want to help you. I want to help you. Let me feed you. No, he doesn't need that from us. And so when you are broken in these moments of, whatever, long-term sin, or trying to give something up to God, when it actually breaks you, God wants you to kneel to him with your heart. You know what I mean? And that's you're letting go of stuff. You're sacrificing it and saying like, God, this is all in your hands. And if it breaks you, so be it. You know what I mean? And that's probably better for you that it does. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think, like, if I was hungry, I wouldn't tell you, God said to them. Is that meaning, like, I wouldn't want you to know what I need because you're not the kind of person I trust? You know, your intentions aren't pure. Is that kind of the thing? Or
I feel like it's more along the lines of, I am God and you are not.
Yeah.
And sort of, just like, you're not on the same level as me where I need to share, you know, my heartaches with you. Like, God doesn't need us.
Yeah.
But he made us and he loves us despite that he doesn't need us to exist. And so it's like, at the same time as it's humbling, because he's saying, you're not at the level to know this, but I'm still going to share my heart with you, if that makes sense. It's like feels like a paradox almost. But I think, John chapter 2 talks about people who believed in Jesus because of his signs, but Jesus didn't entrust himself to them because he knew that they only believed because of his signs. Like, they didn't have real faith. It was just like they want to see him do more miracles, essentially, or they want him to do a miracle for them. And so they're following Jesus, but not because their heart's in it, because their heart is in themselves. So it's this, Psalm 50, I think, is a similar concept. Like, your heart is in yourself. Your heart isn't for me. Why would I share my burden with you? So I think it can be both.
How do you correct yourself without getting slammed or seared? You know, how do you listen for the nudges versus, you know, getting slammed?
That's a good question. I think that comes, there's two things that I think of. One is be in your word. You need to be in your word, because that's where you read the stories of people who are just like you. You know, you read in Proverbs and it says the fool wipes his lips clean after committing adultery. And you're like, that's me, dude. What the heck? Not like,
and drinking caffeine when you shouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you've ever, like, I don't know, you sometimes, like, I get angry. I deal with anger a lot. And sometimes I catch myself putting myself in situations to be angry because I like feeling powerful and explosive. Mm. And that's like, I wipe my lips after, you know, quote unquote. And so I'm reading Proverbs and I'm like, wow, that verse is about me. I need to change my character. Or, you know, any other part of the Bible. Nicodemus in John 3 talks about, he's a leader of the Jews. He's probably got some doctorate level knowledge. And he's talking about, well, am I supposed to go back into my mother's womb and be born again? And Jesus says, are you not a teacher of Israel? If I tell you earthly things and you don't believe, how will you believe if I tell you heavenly things? And then I think, wait a minute. I'm the kind of guy who likes to know a lot of information. I'm just like Nicodemus. Like, I want to know the answers. I want to know what he's talking about. But Jesus is saying that there's a transcendence to your life that you need to look beyond just yourself and your knowledge. And so I read the word and I say, oh my gosh, I'm right there. What's God trying to point me to outside of myself that is going to help build my character and make me love him more? And so that's a major part of it. So be in your word. Like, absolutely, you have to be. And another major part to, I would say, lessen the searing is having that community that you can trust, that you can talk to, of people who are wiser than you. There's a saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, you know? And I mean, that goes in a lot of different directions, but especially when it comes to being a Christian, you don't ever really want to be the best Christian around, because, excuse me, you're a big fish in a small pond at that point. And so, you know, you can interpret that a lot of ways, but just find people who are wiser than you and stick around them. and allow them to push you, allow them to pull you. There's a quote that our youth group is going through right now. It is, what you believe and value influences what you do and what priorities you will have. And so you have these two sides of this equal sign, I guess, this equation. It's like beliefs and values, priorities and actions. They're balanced with each other. What you do on one side, it's going to happen on the other side. So if you devalue human life on this side of priorities and values, on the other side of actions, you might be committing abortion, if that makes sense. So there, again, equation, what you do here, it's going to happen here. And so the pastor is asking the whole youth group, who will you let learn your priorities and values? How do you know other people's priorities and values? How do you have conversations about that? And then also, who are you going to let push and pull you and adjust your priorities and values? And if you have nobody that you can say, I'm going to let you do that, it's very similar to that verse in 1 John 4 that says, if a man says he loves God but hates his brother, he's a liar. Because if he can't love the guy that he can see, if I can't love you right now and I can see you and you're sitting across from me, how can I love God who I can't see, who I can't physically touch? And so it's very similar. If I can't listen to you correct me, if I can't listen to anyone correct me, how am I going to listen to God correct me? So you need to have humility and a willingness to change, and people who you are willing to let you change, to let change you, I guess, if that makes sense.
What happens when the thing you need corrected is comes from a deep childhood wound that feels like you don't know how to, first off, you don't even think about it because you could never foresee yourself removing it. You don't even see it. You just think it's normal, but it makes you different from everyone else. What do you do with when that wound is so deep and so ingrained in everything you do and value in life? How do you confront that?
The first thing that my heart runs to is prayer, obviously. I mean, it's kind of an obvious answer, but I think it's definitely undervalued. I mean, you yourself, I would praise as a prayer warrior, especially, but
likewise.
Thank you. But it's something that I think a lot of people, and especially for me, like I've noticed how much prayer has changed my heart and my life, and just being devoted to it and disciplined with it, but not disciplined for the sake of discipline for the heart of God. You know, you want your heart to drive the discipline, not your discipline to drive the heart. It's like putting the heart before the discipline. Yeah. The cart before the horse. What is it? Cart before the horse.
The cart before the horse. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you don't want to get it backwards, but you have to pray. But another thing is, a lot of people, I'm kind of not necessarily sidetracking, but have a little roundabout sort of way of saying it.
We'll steer shit. We'll go over.
Yeah. A lot of very successful people, they reserve their mornings to think. For example, Nikola Tesla, he would walk, I think, like 10 kilometers every morning. And he didn't sleep a lot, which is not advised, I guess, but he would walk a lot every morning, and he wouldn't do morning meetings up until a certain time because his morning was reserved for himself to think. And I mean, that guy was a genius. He made a ton of inventions, but he also advanced mathematics and electronics, science, etc. And he just spent that time to think, and it gives him so much that like 90 minutes a day. Imagine just spending 90 minutes a day thinking, processing, praying, meditating. That is so much more than most people would ever do. Martin Luther King Jr. spent hours praying some days. It was hours praying in the morning. Most monks, most church fathers, or significant figures in the church, they spend hours of their day praying. It's like we couldn't even imagine that today. If you catch my drift, like I feel like 90 minutes of praying, I don't know if I can do that. Like, I'd get bored or something. But like, if you can devote your time to connecting with God and building a relationship with God, stuff will be drawn out of you. So to get deep into your soul and into your heart, you need to have a deep relationship with God. That's the balance with modern psychology and biblical counseling, is that your relationship with God is going to affect your mind a lot, and a lot more than you would think. And so in all reality, the more that your heart trusts God, the better your mind will be. Mm-hmm. I firmly believe that. And I think it's biblical. But that's not to say that the devil doesn't cause you oppression and discomfort and harm. But again, to get deep, you have to go deep, or you have to dedicate a lot of time. You can't do it in 10 minutes of praying a day or one counseling session a week. Don't counsel every day, don't waste your money on counseling, but devote yourself to a relationship with God. I think the next thing that I would say is really guard your heart. It's a big thing. I've seen it, and I've had it affect me a lot. I used to think guarding your heart meant not believing like lies, or not exploring other intellectual ideas because you might get convinced by them. But if you're convinced, there's this quote, I kind of agree with it. It's a little iffy, but if you're convinced into Christianity just by intellectual argument, you can be convinced out of it by the same thing. And so if your heart's not there, you're not gonna stick around. So guarding your heart is more than just be cautious about what you consume. That's a part of it, but you also need to be cautious about how you build relationships, what kind of relationships you have. And for example, I grew up having much more stronger, I don't connect with guys very well, and a lot stronger relationship with girls than I did with guys. And I wasn't totally careful about that, and it caused a lot of heartache for myself because I just didn't have a mature relationship with just female friends. And I was just very, way more friendly with them than I think is appropriate, I guess. Not that I was like making out with a ton of girls or, had 5 girlfriends at a time or anything like that. Just that I just didn't want to have guy friends. And that opened me up to a world of like effeminatism, I guess. It opened me up to a world of I would say weakness. I don't want to say weakness because it's effeminate, but weakness as in I didn't have strong character because I didn't have men in my life, or even just a lot of guy friends. And so, there's a lot of negative effects that happen, and that was me not guarding my heart. So guarding your heart in this sense of your deep emotional things, the reason that I had those relationships with women is because of the deep emotional thing that was in my life, which is I was raised without my dad. And so that totally changed my upbringing. That totally changed how I see men versus women, everything like that. And you just need to, once you know what's happening, you need to just be very careful and take it very, very slow with all relationships, guys or girls. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few thoughts I had. In terms of guarding your heart, it's a good point. Is we talked about this, I need to get better at not telling myself narratives. Yeah. Because I'm a storyteller. I'm an overthinker. I like to overthink things, even if weird synchronicities and weird, mystical stuff seems to be happening. Where I've had a lot of experiences where it feels like God's at doing something in front of me, and he might be, but I don't have any capacity of knowing, and I'll make the habit of like, oh, this must mean this and that. What is there to gain? You know, like I got to ask myself, what is there to gain from trying to guess? Because if he's if he's communicating with me about something, I realize now he'll do that through prayer. He'll do that through scripture. He'll do that through fellowship. And he has been. And I look at it now where I realize, yeah, I've been having those conversations with people and not listening.
Yeah.
And that's something I struggle with, is even when it comes to my feature film, somebody pointed out, Tom, this guy is so annoying. He asks people for advice and then says, well, yeah, but no, I'm right about this.
Yeah.
That's exactly who I am. And it's so annoying.
Yeah.
And, but you, I don't know. I want your thoughts on that, because I had another thing to ask about, or talk about. But what was that? Your thoughts on that?
Let me ask you this question first. Do you think that one of your gifts in life is to notice details?
I think so.
Do you think God gave you that gift?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. And so sometimes it can be overutilized, or you can utilize it in the wrong way. But you mentioned Acts 2:17. Because of that number 217 that's been cropping up, do you think if that number did not crop up, and if you didn't think about that number, that you would remember Acts 2:17 as well as you do?
No, I don't think I would.
So there's benefit to it, I would say, but you have to be careful about everything. So for me, something I've been dealing with recently is dreams. I get a lot of dreams. I dream pretty much every single night, and they're usually pretty vivid, and I can remember them for a while, I would say. There's some dreams from my childhood, from 10 to 12 years old, that I remember. There's a very distinct dream where I'm running around an empty college campus that I think my mom used to work at. And there was cats there. There's like 4 or 5 cats. And I remember them. There's like a black cat. There's an orange cat. It's like another orange cat with like dark orange stripes. And there's like 2, girl cats. Anyway, so I remember that dream. And it used to recur through my life as a child. And I still have no idea what it means. But I dream almost every night. And I started realizing that there's significance to my dreams. Like, God has given me a gift of being able to dream. And I need to understand why. And I need to be able to discern that. And I can't yet. Maybe I got to talk to Joseph or something. You know what I mean? But I notice that, and I hear people in the world talk about dreams, and then I hear people in the church talk about dreams, and then I also read what the Bible says about dreams, and none of them are saying the same thing. And so it's a tough battle for me, but I think you're in the same boat. God has given you this thing, and now it helps you to memorize the word. It helps you to build your character, but it can also be very destructive. Like for me, my dreams, there was a time, especially in high school, I dealt with this a lot because I'm around a ton of people, where I would have a dream about a girl and I wake up the next day thinking I was in love with that girl. And then for like the next week, I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I so obsessed with this girl? It's like one dream. And that ruminated in my head. And it's just like super, it's something is deep in me, is dreaming. Something that's deep in you is noticing these details. And we can assume it's our own. But the less we assume it's our own, and the more I lay down and go to bed and say, God, give me a dream and help me understand it and help me to utilize it for your kingdom, then the more it gets utilized for the kingdom and the less we live for ourselves. So I think sometimes with your noticing, I don't know what else to call it, I guess, but noticing is
patterns, ironies, synchronicities.
Yeah, synchronicities. That's the word you used. With the synchronicities that you have, they're probably more often self-serving than kingdom serving, and that's why it causes you so much stress and anxiety. And so I think the more that you can, like, God gave you that. That's how you are. You know what I mean? It's not a poison. but it's also not yours, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's times where I can, in the end, look at some things that would seem selfish and be like, but in the end, this is what it's going to do to build the kingdom.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a stretch sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, sometimes I get frustrated where I'm like, why am I painting myself into this like picture of, oh, this must mean this, that, this. And I'm really right now, I'm just trying to learn how to be present. Two things I'm actually praying a lot with is, God, help me be present and help me listen. Help me listen to others. Help me listen to you. Help me listen to scripture.
Yeah.
Like somebody pointed out that, like, I thought I was a good listener, and someone pointed out that, ways in which I wasn't listening that I didn't even catch. And it led me down this, I think, path of sanctification and correction that I'm currently on. And I think I'm at the beginning of, where my goal is like, I need to be able to listen to people so that they feel heard and seen.
Yeah.
And that might mean that I'll have an entire conversation. I have to get used to having entire conversations with someone where my agenda, I leave it at the door. Anything I wanted to talk about, I leave it at the door.
Yeah.
And I'm just there my goal is just to hear them, which I think is just so incredibly hard because so much is going on in my life right now. Well, and it's, a lot of it's self-inflicted, doing a feature film. I'm going through a period of time where I'm just going through so much pain or heartbreak or things of like, I feel like I'm dying at times. I'm just like all these crazy things going on. And I'm like, or just things that normally would happen like once every few months. It's like every week, crazy things happening. And I just find myself telling the stories to people in order to make sense of it and process it. But it's making it so I'm not present and I'm not listening to God.
Yeah.
It's making it so I'm so stuck in the narrative that I'm telling myself, which is funny because there's a line in my feature where the character's like, this one guy's like, if we keep telling ourselves the same story, we can never heal from it or something like that. And
yeah,
I feel like I'm going through that now, which is frustrating because I thought I had it all figured out. Now I'm realizing I don't.
Yeah, we usually do.
I love that. All right, God. I think I know what you're trying to do. As soon as you say that, you're in trouble, man. Right? Yeah. You are gonna fall flat on your face. Yeah. I need to like write that on my forehead. No. As soon as you think you have everything figured out, you're in trouble. Yeah. Because you're not God, and it's gonna unfold differently. I'm going through that right now. Yeah, you also mentioned prayer. And I didn't know that about like Martin Luther King and all these people. But I don't know if I mentioned you. It's like I've been having days where I'll force myself to have a Sabbath. It might not be on the Sabbath. It might be a Saturday or a Monday, and I'll take a leap in faith with God that if I rest in Him, He'll restore me. And I don't spend it doing anything fun anymore. That I used to. I spend it in prayer. Like I actually will set a stopwatch timer on my phone, have it count up. And after that film shoot we did, I actually went to the beach and I spent 12 hours in prayer. Wow. And the first 10 of which were spent just fasting.
Wow. And
I needed that.
Yeah.
Like if I hadn't learned how to do that, to cope with the feature film, I'd be very, very miserable. I wouldn't even be accomplishing anything.
For real.
Like, frankly, I think if there's any chance that this next year will be more productive than the last one, my hope is that it will be. it's because I'm resting in him more. I'm not trying to follow my own strength. I'm trying to rest in him and bring it to him. And you mentioned like confession is a way of avoiding being seared. Audrey.
Yeah, she's scratching.
It's just so funny. It's what was it? I thought crap fell in my head.
Confession.
It's I'm finding myself noticing whenever I am struggling, I gotta ask myself, did I pray about this thing that I'm struggling with to God to say, hey God, I can't do this without you. I need your help.
Yeah. Because
every time you do that, that's when things start to work out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's weird. It's like right now I'm going through so much and it's like, I can't tell which from what, and I'm losing the energy to discern things. So that's rough. I don't know. Have you been through periods of time like that where it's just the energy isn't there anymore to discern or have prayer and to spot everything?
Definitely. I think there's this line in a song that says, fatigue gives way to rest. Like when you're so fatigued, you have no choice but to rest. Like if you can't get up because your muscles are that broken, that's literally resting. Like you can't get up, you're done getting up, you know? And so I think that's a powerful thought process to have. And that just knowing that line, just knowing that song has helped me in those moments, because you realize that you're like, I lost the energy to pray, I guess. That is like, you're resting at that point. You know what I mean? It's like, if you lost the energy to pray, then that means you were probably praying for yourself, because rest is praying to God, like with nothing. Just like, God, just help me right now. Like not trying to do anything, not trying to like muscle your success. You're not trying to muscle your success with God or muscle your success in some, correcting yourself or whatever. You're just laying there. And I think that's like, I don't know, it's significant. I don't think it's like, bad necessarily, I guess. It's good that you're resting now.
That was like my prayer session yesterday, where I was just resting and laying there thinking, and just, I couldn't even, I just heard listen. So I just was listening to God. And it's funny, I'll go through, I'll do either a groaning prayer where I'm just repeating Jesus over and over, just, because then you're calling out to him, and he will intercede for you. And then I'll like try asking questions, having conversations, hearing, and trying to, try on the answers that I think I'm hearing. And actually, like, I'll incorporate that into different modern therapy kind of techniques that I'm actually, that's something that I've been noticing, especially on this like retreat I went on, where the people there, they incorporate a lot of like modern psychology or treatment things or counseling techniques, things that get a lot of results, and incorporating that with scripture, incorporating that with your relationship with God, with prayer. And like something my therapist recommended was a feelings wheel, looking at that and just praying on, am I feeling this emotion? Yes. No. Yes. And then like there's like the feelings wheel is like broader emotions that get to more detailed, and then more detailed as you go out in the wheel.
Oh yeah.
And like I was looking through my emotions yesterday, and it was just all these negative things. It was not like nothing positive. And I was just like, oh, that's good. And then it got worse in the evening. And I'm just like, no, it's like, and in the midst of that, I remember recently reading, I'm reading John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress.
In the original or the updated language?
It might be the updated language. I'm not sure. I don't know if was it Russian or something. Or?
It's like old, almost Old English, or it's like
Oh.
New King James English, I guess.
I don't know actually.
Is there like a lot of these and thous?
No, I don't think so.
Might be there. Anyway,
Yeah.
irrelevant. I'm
Dang
sorry.
it. But I'm reading that, and he fell asleep on the hill of difficulty, and then felt bad about it, and lost his scroll or something. And I'm just that. Then reading Psalm 73, reading Job 35. Those were I was directed by prayer to read those, and I was also the other day there was a men's group where we were reading 1 Peter 5. And all these things just kind of coalesced where I'm like, why are all these things speaking to me right now? I feel like I'm on the hill of difficulty. I just got through half of the feature. I'm finding all these health things cropping up where it's from the feature probably.
Yeah.
And like, which is, what are you supposed to do then?
Yeah.
And like, I'm not able to drink energy drinks anymore. I have to limit my coffee intake. I'm actually changing my diet up and just so many things. I'm like, and if I get a phone call during this podcast, it's because I'm going to find out what else is wrong.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to get. We've been playing phone tag for a while, and every time they call me, I'm busy. So I apologize if I get a call. But no, it's just all these things that I'm facing, and but it's just you mentioned rest. It's for some reason I'm thinking, well, if I rest, is that what is being told to me right now, that I'm not supposed to be resting right now? I'm supposed to be working. Am I if I fall asleep, if I take days where I'm just not getting anything done because I'm just so dang tired, am I sinning by falling asleep on the hill of difficulty? Or is it literally because I've never pushed myself this far in my life, and I don't think a human being should be pushing themselves this far to the point where it's affecting my heart rate? I don't know. And the Psalm 73, I think it was, spoke to me because it was about, not looking to the ways of the wicked and stay righteous, or Job 35. It's like they were telling him, what's the point of being righteous when the sinner gets all, and it's funny that both of those kind of things spoke to me. I was praying, like, I'll try on the answer. Where should I go? Old Testament, New Testament? Old Testament. And I'm going through the list of the books. This one, no. This one, no. This one, yes. And like I've been going about my Bible reading lately, where I treat it as like a discussion with God, and I'm just like, all right, God, hey, reveal something to me here, or which book do you want me to read from? And then I'll pinpoint down to like even if I want the verse, but I mainly just do the chapter and read the chapter. And it's spooky because it's like, that is exactly what I needed to hear. It is, never has my Bible reading been so visceral as when I pray to God, hey, help me, reveal something to me.
Yeah.
And then what book should I read? What section? New Old Testament, New Testament? Okay, what book? This one, no. This one, yes. Like you get better discerning. You're hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been spooky, man. And it's like I have so many of those moments of what I'm learning are Christian mysticism moments or synchronicities where I'm like I might be a Christian mystic. I'm not sure. Like, actually, John Eldridge wrote a book who wrote Wild at Heart. His latest book is where he's realizing he might be a Christian mystic. And it's very different from his other books. I haven't read it, but I've heard about it from someone. I'm like, I'm reading that soon, really soon. I think it's Experience Jesus Really. And I think it's just the noticing that Christ is everywhere, that God is everywhere and everything, and knowing how to see it, knowing how to look for it. Do you experience that? Like where you experience things, God in small things that maybe necessarily it wasn't like it's not what you'd expect. It's not what a lot of people say you're supposed to see God in, but it seems unmistakable that there's synchronicities there. There's things that are beyond chance where he's showing up. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sorry, I say that often.
So, I'm sorry, that was a long-winded. I don't even know where I was going with that, but but yeah.
No, I got you. The first thing that I think of is I have a group chat with a couple of my close friends, and my friend Caden was driving and he saw a bald eagle. This bald eagle was like on the side of the road picking at some roadkill and eating up. And I don't know about you, I don't think it's just because I'm American, but I love seeing bald eagles. And they're just so majestic to me. And they're so regal, Regal Eagle. And and in the video, the bald eagle flies away. And in my mind, I'm like, wow, God bless. Like the Lord met Caden in that moment. Like just, I don't know, revealing such a majestic creature. And it's so rare to see him, unless you're in certain areas where they might be more populated. Like it just feels very special. And so I see that and I'm like, wow, the Lord visited him. And then he also thought, I didn't say anything. I kept it in my head because that's mystic. You know what I mean? That's people will be like, oh, it's just a bald eagle. Don't read into it that much. But then Caden sent a message where he's like, the Lord was here. Like he felt like just blessed by the Lord in that moment. And I was like, wow, I'm not the only one thinking that way. And so there's a lot of moments like that where I think I would see the Lord in something and I would be afraid to say that I saw the Lord in that because the general Christian population is going to be like, hold on, that's too signy. Like, you want to be careful about trusting signs or, reading into things. And you've heard that a lot. But yeah, I think there's moments where you're just like, man, this experience is just so special to me. Like, I love nature. I love animals. And I think when I get to experience animals, I think God is blessing me in some way. Not that he is in the animal, not that he is the animal or whatever, but like when I experience wild animals, I just like, or even tame animals, whatever. I feel so blessed that God would like give me that opportunity to be so close and intimate with something so wild. And so I don't think you and I have the same exact like things that we notice, but I think there are things that I notice that, some people will be like, don't read into that, I guess. And so I definitely have those moments, and I try to be careful when it comes to listening. There's, excuse me, there's two things that happen to me when I'm in conversation. If I'm being a good listener, I am taking what the person is saying and I'm repeating it in my head, like the words, just saying it after them. That way I'm not thinking about what I'm going to say next. The other side of that is I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next. So I'm either trying to listen actively or I'm trying to listen to myself, I guess. And so that comes up in conversation with God as well, or in life in general, where are you trying to think about what you're going to say next to the world, what you're going to say next to this deer? Like, hey, deer, come here, or hey, bird, come land on my arm. Like, that's not going to make a bird land on your arm. You know what I mean? It's just going to happen. And you have to be listening for it, I guess. It's a weird analogy, but yeah, it's like in prayer, I feel like that happens where God is saying something and I'm just thinking about what I'm going to say next, what I'm going to pray next. You know what I mean? I'm not repeating the words that he's saying to me. And I think that, I don't know, that plays into the things that we see, the synchronicities that we might see. But like I said, like for me, it's like I'm very much connected with animals in nature and like how God, his fingerprints are in that, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if that totally answers your question. I kind of went off track a little bit.
No, this is good because it did trigger something for me. I think like as you're saying this, I mean, when it comes to listening, I'm gonna write down listening and come back to that. What it triggered is I think what brought me back to Christ was, or the journey that I went on, when I was doing a film about a friend who passed away, I noticed that, or at least I thought that I was throwing back the ball, so to say. God threw a ball to me, and I threw it back. And I think what that means to me is God does not call you unless you're ready to pick up the phone. He doesn't throw a ball to you unless he knows you're going to throw it back. So I try to be in a posture of, how can I prepare myself for the ball that I don't know he could even throw to me? Because I want to be utilized.
Yeah.
I want to go through life and be utilized by God in a way that is unthinkable.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be someone he uses to be the young man who has visions about the future, or dreams. Visions about the future might be a misrepresentation of what the scripture says. I think it's just they have visions. I want to be the young man in Acts 2:17 and the old man in Acts 2:17. I want to understand the gifts that I've been given, the talents that I've been given.
Yeah.
And I think lately I've been going through so much, almost like kind of like Job, things just going on and just beating me down. After being on the mountain, I was on the mountain not too long ago, and now I'm just witnessing things beating me down, which I think it's going to, turn around soon, but
yeah, I'm
frustrated being told, what if you're idolizing your film, your feature film? What if what if you're not meant to be doing that? Or what if you're what if Tom, you overthink things too much. You're trying to guess too much. You shouldn't be looking into the signs, And the other day, when the person who quoted 2:17 was somebody a Christian of the likes, who I would say is like I met a group of Christians that I've never been able to say this before, but it's like meeting the Navy SEAL Team 6 of Christians, where they're doing something different. And you can tell. I've never seen some people that carry themselves the same way, that are able to work on themselves the same way, in ways that feels scripturally true, and incorporating things in psychology or theology, and who are open to Christian mysticism and are like, yeah, we experienced this too. And we're, this guy said, it's like, most Christian churches are impoverished because they don't even touch on this. And he also said in the same breath, it's like, the problem right now is the fastest growing religions in the United States are Wiccan and witchcraft. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
And that touches on this domain that is of the spiritual, it's of the heavenly realm. And I've witnessed this from a lot of Christians, who are like, oh, you're not supposed to talk about things like this. You're not supposed to talk about, these mystical experiences you're having. You're not supposed to talk about, interpreting these things. Then why are they happening?
Yeah.
Why do they happen to me? Why do you dream dreams? Why do I see things? It's not random. It's always when God's trying to tell me something. The day that I was making a huge mistake last year, I remember it vividly. A bunch of stuff happened that same day that just seemed really ridiculous. And I remember something happening on the road that I just saved the footage as in a file named Signed from Jesus. It was that vivid. And looking back, I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, I know exactly what I did wrong that day. And God was literally trying to warn me.
Yeah.
But I misinterpreted what was happening in front of me. Now, yes, I didn't interpret it correctly. It didn't do much to stop me from doing what I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
But there is no mistake about it. God, on several occasions in my life, was trying to say something to me, and it was right there.
Yeah.
It was plain as day, right there. And it was in synchronicities. It was in things that are too beyond coincidence, beyond statistical probability. It's frustrating to go through your journey as a Christian for a year or two now and be told, all right, that's all well and good, but you shouldn't get into that. Mm-hmm. To finally be meeting people who you actually are like, well, these people are like like a level, like levels beyond those people in terms of like just the person I see almost. And why are they saying that I should be doing this?
Yeah.
And I think I don't regret, looking at those things, the gifts that I've been given to see things and being discerning about it. But I think I wouldn't say being too discerning. I was being dismissive of the gifts. Mm. Like I've definitely seen stuff. But I think my look at this is, okay, I think the reason I've been telling myself these narratives, which I'm trying to unwrite now, I was trying to write the narrative to figure out what God wanted me to do preemptively.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I was given these things that I need to interpret to try to understand. So I tried interpreting them, and it's just led me to heartache and heartache and heartache. Mm-hmm. And it's just so frustrating. So I'm told I'm just supposed to be present. Mm-hmm. I used to think I knew what that meant.
Yeah.
But presence to me, I used to read this book. I don't recommend it. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Mm, yeah, I'm familiar.
And I read it so much. I was listening to an audiobook all on repeat, back after my friend died. And I tell you, I lived life according to that book, and I was present. I thought, oh, it got me in a lot of trouble. Yeah. Like it got me in a lot of sin. It got me into a lot of, like, I don't like the person I became, but the friends who I was friends with at the time really liked that version of me.
Yeah.
Which is, they're not really friends anymore. And yeah, I'm trying to figure out what presence looks like in terms of faith, in terms of relationship to God.
Yeah.
What does that look like to you?
I think of C.S. Lewis' book, The Screwtape Letters, because in that book he talks about like the tangential elements of right now. Like right now is the only moment that you can actually live in, if that makes sense. Like you can be mentally present or mentally dismissive, but you can literally only be present right now. Mm. Like you can't be present in the future. You can't be present in the past. You were present in the past when you were there, but you're here right now. It's like a tangent line. Like, this is like time and this is you. You're running along. It's two circles, running along at each other. Mm. So they connect only at one point, if that makes sense. It's kind of a little abstract concept, I guess. But there's a purpose to thinking ahead, of course. If you are totally present in this moment, you're probably not thinking ahead. I don't know if you experienced that when you were living like for now, because living for now doesn't build anything. Living for the future does. There's two quotes that I would, I guess, connect to this. They're not totally connected, but there's this Jim Quick. Are you familiar with Jim Quick?
No.
He's an educator, I would say, and he has this quote. He's got a bunch of courses. At the beginning of all his courses, he says, you underestimate what you can do, or you overestimate what you can do in one day, but you underestimate what you can get done in 30 days. So when you're living in the now, people tend to and not process sort of accurately, I guess. So I'm like, today I'm going to get so much done. I write 100 things on my to-do list and I do 10 of them, and then I'm super discouraged because I'm living in like this is today. Instead of taking it one bite at a time and saying, over the course of 30 days, I could get all of this done if I just take it one bite at a time. It's kind of like I have ADHD, and I know a lot of people who experience this, where you find some interest and then you get super attached to it and then you overwhelm yourself. So for me, that's happened my whole life. But when I started investing, like my finances, I got super into it. I was like way, digging into the education, learning so much until I had so much information in my head that every decision became analysis paralysis. And so I wasn't thinking long term. I was thinking, I know all the information, I'll figure it out as I go, instead of trying to think ahead, I guess. And so the second part of that is that what we do now is going to affect our eternity. So we, like, the decision to follow Jesus Christ or to not follow Jesus, that's an eternal decision that you're making. So you can't live mentally in the presence of now, or I guess be present without having some big consequences, I guess. So in one sense, being present means listening actively and, being a part of conversations. But being present in the faith means having an eternal perspective. Let me see here. I don't know if I have this book with me. There's a lot of books over here. I might have loaned it to somebody.
You know what it was?
Say again?
Do you know what the book was?
It's called... I'm missing it. I'm missing it now. Oh, man. What is it called?
The Bull Journal?
No. It's who is it by even? So anyway, the point of the book, the perspective of the book, is that often, even as Christians, we shrink our lives down to the size of our life, like our decision, the time that we will be alive on earth, et cetera, et cetera. So what happens is we build our own kingdom, and we think that we're building the kingdom of God, but we really are creating our own rules. We're creating our own boundaries, what we will, what we won't do, et cetera, based on just our selfish desire, I guess. When there's a big kingdom, the kingdom of God, that we need to live under, it's a transcendent mind that we need to have that we don't have. So transcendence speaks of the eternal perspective. That's what I think Christians need to be having more of. So to say, like, be present in your faith, I think it means to actively listen to God in the moment as much as you can, but you need to have a bigger picture that goes beyond right now, like way beyond right now, to an infinite degree, I guess. I don't know if that totally answers your question. Let me. Wait, man, it would be on this shelf if anywhere. Oh, it's a good book too. Why can't I remember the name of it? Churches.
I could hit on the presence thing. There was something somebody said to me recently. It's, you can't just be completely present. You can't just be focused on the now. I mean, don't you have to plan things in the future? Well, you do. Like, say you're a father, you schedule time with your family.
Yeah.
To be present then. But that's not right now, but you do plan for that presence later. You plan for moments of responsibility to be present in those moments later. Or you are present now with the goal of what's going to lead for the best outcome later.
Yeah.
But presence in terms of being a responsible Christian, it's being discerning about what is the right path for eternity.
Yeah.
which leads to real analysis paralysis, because you're like, well, what is the right role? Like you can I mean, for me, it's like I can go down the road of like, well, what about all these things I saw, these signs, or not even signs, but like these things that happen, these synchronicities. This means this means that. So like for my eternal life, I need to be doing this, but that's not working out the way that I planned because I'm not interpreting things right.
Yeah.
You know, like that's where I get into trouble, where I'm overthinking reality. And you know what? It's like I went through, what brought me to my church was a lot of things like that. So to be then coming to church and being told, oh, you're not supposed to think that way. Mm-hmm. What are you talking about? That's why I'm here. Like,
yeah, because I thought
this stuff brought me here. Are you kidding me? like I wouldn't be with Christ right now if it weren't for weird stuff like this happening in my life, which I hate saying. Like, it's like I was doubting Thomas, you know? I needed to feel the wound, and feeling the wound meant seeing crazy stuff, synchronicities, things that just felt like that's no way. There's no way that was just by chance. Yeah. It happens all the time. And people ask, like, I'll tell the stories specifically to people and they'll be like, why is it that stuff keeps happening to you? I remember telling this guy he doesn't go to church, but he's like, you're too few guys actually who don't actually go to church, or they're not Christian, or they kind of like they if they go, it's because they're told to go, whatever. Or just they some of them are Buddhist or atheist or agnostic or whatever. And I'll tell them my experiences, and I purposely, like, I don't go into them on the podcast necessarily, but like I tell them this and they're like, I might have to go to church. Like I wasn't trying to get them to do anything. Yeah. Sometimes I was, but you know, I find it's sharing the stuff that I experienced that is, and then they'll ask, like, how do you have this stuff happen to you? All I can guess is I started listening and noticing, and acting in accordance because of it, and then it got more weird, and it continues to. And so now today I came here and I'm like, I need to throw all this narrative stuff away, but I realize there's a part of me that says, hold on, buddy. You don't know how to interpret it. Yeah. But it's not that it's not real. Because every time I've engaged with weird stuff that's happened where I notice a sign or this, or not a sign, but like this is, you can call it signs, you can call it synchronicities, or things where, you know, I interpret that I'm supposed to do this, or usually I feel a burden on my heart, like you're supposed to storm a hill and you got guns pointed at you. If you don't get to the top of the hill, like you're dead to sin, or dead, you know? And it's a feeling of my friend just died. And I felt that for many different things, not just my friend dying. And I'm thinking, all right, well, maybe that's because Christ died. He's my friend that died. And that's the feeling I have when I'm not doing the thing that I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. So what if I'm being present? So if I'm an overthinker who, you know, sees all these weird things, these synchronicities, these signs, and what being present looks like for that is noticing that it's happening, and looking for ways to treat this as, you know, kind of like another craft, another learning opportunity, another apprenticeship. Yeah. My faith is an apprenticeship. A craft is an apprenticeship. You're trying to learn how something works. What it looks like is, like, if you're having dreams or having visions or seeing signs or seeing things, I think it's a ridiculous thing to look at all the things in life that you don't understand what's happening there, but there's something to learn, there's something to master, there's something to be mentored with and guided so that you can understand it, including faith itself, including the Bible, scripture. For someone to look at those weird things that happen, the dreams or the mystical things that happen, not necessarily avoiding the occult, But there's something where it's in the Christian domain to look at that and say, oh, you can't learn about that. That's not. Well, it's always pointed towards things that actually made a huge impact in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like God used these things to warn me when that was what I was listening for. Granted, now I will use prayer. I will use scripture. I will ask God what I'll do this right now. Lord, which one? Old Testament, New Testament right now? New Testament. Like I'll basically figure out like what book should I be reading? What chapter? What did I say? New Testament or Old Testament? New Testament. One of the Gospels? No. Acts? No. Romans? No. Corinthians? No. Second? No. Galatians? Ephesians? Yes. Which one? 1, 2, 5? Yes. Let's see. Ephesians 5. And I will go to the book and then read it, and something about it will speak to me about what I'm trying to understand at the moment, what I'm dealing with. And that seems to be something that really helped me last night. I'm having trouble finding it. Oh, no, come on. It's coming up.
It's right after Galatians.
There it is.
Right before Philippians.
I'm going to read it real quick, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Walk in love, therefore be imitators of God as beloved children, and walk in love as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us, a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. But sexual immorality and all impurity of covetousness. Oh, covetousness. That's something that I've been, yep. Must not even be named among you as is proper among saints. Let there be no filthiness, nor foolish talk, nor crude joking, which are out of place, but instead let there be thanksgiving, for you may be sure of this, that everyone is sexually immoral or impure, or who is covetous, that is an idolater, has an inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and God. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things the wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. So am I being disobedient by talking about, I don't know, am I me being covetous? Is it me being, I think that's where I get in trouble, is covetousness when it comes to talking about, what the signs mean. They can often lead me to covetousness.
Yeah.
And here, it's mentioning, let no one deceive you with empty words. If I ask myself, there's a part of me that was thinking the other day, the guy who mentioned 2:17, did something about it feel empty, what he was saying? When he was talking about, that there's this whole new world. It seemed like it opened up a door to me, but it also felt like, am I going down the same road? I had to be discerning. And but I'm gonna read some of the books he recommended, because I think he knew the difference between that and like Christianity and the occult. But I don't know if I'm not gonna keep reading, but like that's just a minor example of like I'm finding that I can in prayer hear, and maybe it's a feeling of peace or with whatever I say. And when I try on the answer, if I feel peace when I say the answer, it's a pretty good chance that that's the path you should go. Now, say that that's you mentally doing it. I think if there is a chance that God can speak through you or to you, and I think that happens a lot, I think that works. That prayer thing, that trying on the answer, and or using that when it comes to scripture, figuring out what you're supposed to read so that it will impact you. Because I won't know what I don't remember by heart or even mentally what the different books are, the different chapters, but I can pray on what I should read. And for some reason, it consistently lately has been giving me exactly what I needed to read. I would say even last night, like, was it 2 or 3 for 3? Like each thing was just like, or 4 for 4. It was like,
wow.
It was like having a dialogue last night.
Yeah.
But it was because I was dealing with a lot. I was really just like in a really heavy place, and I needed that, encouragement. And So it comes in that. It comes in prayer, hours of prayer, especially. And I think when you spend those hours of prayer, and it might just be starting from a base point of a groaning prayer where you're repeating Christ over and over, and you're just trying to listen. You're trying to hear what he's saying, and then and have a conversation and try on the answers, and then sometimes opening the Bible and seeing where he's pointing you there. A lot of little things like that. So if I'm being present, I think noticing when things happen, I think I need to get better at understanding where's my flesh trying to lead me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right? Audrey agrees. Yeah. Here, come up here. She's like, no. It's knowing where my flesh wants me to go, where the devil wants me to go. Because at the end of the day, your presence should be. It's weird saying present when at any present moment as a Christian you're trying to think in terms of eternity.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't thinking that way before when I was being present before. That's something I want to understand. Christian presence. I don't know. What would you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find screw tape letters in here.
I just gifted that to someone.
I don't know.
Is that a taco cat toy under the couch? Is that a burrito? No way.
I think it's a burrito.
It's a burrito cat. It's a cat in the burrito. Is that a cat?
I think so, yeah.
Interesting.
And it also becomes a cat with a cape on. I don't think Audrey likes it that much. But yeah, to answer your question, the Christian presence, I think a part of it is just having faithfulness, I guess. Excuse me. Like Joseph, when he's in prison, he only has like a couple things to do. He can eat, he can get in fist fights, he can interpret dreams, whatever. But he just chooses, he could also try to, barter his way out or whatever, defend himself in court and trial, if he had that opportunity, but he was just faithful. He was just waiting, just kind of existing. Like my friend Vanya, we both know Vanya. He has this sort of poetic view of flowers that their purpose, the purpose that they're made for is to like a flower on a mountain. Like that flower exists just to live on that mountain and be beautiful, and be, soak in the sun and soak in the rain and etc. And if nobody ever plucks that flower, the flower lived for that, just to be there. And so I think Christian presence, we need to understand what our purpose is, but we also need to just realize that existence sometimes might feel mundane, but we shouldn't make a production out of every single day of our lives, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's diligence that needs to be made, and that might mean just feeling robotic at times. Like an example would be Nehemiah. In Nehemiah chapter 2, it describes that he's a cupbearer to the king, and it apparently had been so for quite a decent while, doing regular everyday job, and then his diligence afforded him the opportunity, along with God's grace, to return to Israel or at least Jerusalem, and start rebuilding the walls. And that's just diligence. It's boring in a sense. And I think that sometimes that's what Christian presence is we expect so much. And I think that's what happens when we are interpreting signs for ourselves. like if I'm interpreting this dream for myself and not for God's kingdom, I'm creating something that isn't there because I want to feel the glory of being a part of it instead of just being a part of God's story, if that makes sense.
How do you look for how the dream or the things you're seeing can be part of God's kingdom?
I try to understand what the dream's communicating to me, whether it's about my heart or about somebody that I'm dealing with, whatever. Oftentimes, those dreams that I have where I fall asleep and then the next day I wake up borderline in love with some like random girl that I've like barely talked to, there was something else going on in my heart that was that needed to be affected. And that's part of why I had that dream. And so I didn't always see that, but at times I realized like, oh, I need to relax in this way, or I need to focus on this and correct this behavior, I guess, or this heart of mine that I have. But other times, other times it also relates to another person's life circumstances that I could guide them, or I could ask them about, or I could forgive somebody, just have a real conversation with somebody, whatever it is, being reminded through a vivid dream that, like, sometimes if you've had dreams that have been very negative, they can affect your whole day. And so sometimes the purpose is for you to think about it throughout the day and then maybe have a conversation with that person. So I guess I try my best just to process, like, what do I think is the purpose that I had this dream for? And I guess in the future, I really want to understand interpreting dreams so that I could interpret my dreams and try to see what God wants to communicate to me. But again, that the more I think about myself being the recipient of the dreams, because I'm such a dreamer, the less I'm going to be able to interpret those dreams, because it's a gift from God that He's given me for His kingdom, not for my own glory. You know what I mean?
It's interesting that a few things occurred to me at that moment. When it comes to you see a sign or your dream, it's like, oh, you're supposed to like love this person or something, and what was I thinking about that? It's that person. It's almost like, I would say what makes you validate it is, or say, oh, this has to be true, is when you go and get to know that person. Even you didn't know anything about them. When you get to know them, you realize the geniusness of it.
Yeah.
Why that person was highlighted. Because they teach you a lot about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't mean they're your person. Well, often they're not.
Yeah.
Which sucks. Because it's like, why is this person highlighted for me? They're being refined.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's God illuminating that person to you, because there's things in your heart that you need to work on, in your life that you need to work on. It's funny. They're all, sometimes they're similar to you or ahead of your walk, but they come from a similar place or a worse place, and they're inspiring in that regard. Or there's somebody that's complete opposite of you, and they're teaching you so much about who you are and what you need to work on.
Yeah. That
it's like, because you start to compare yourself, whether you intend to or not. You can't control it sometimes, I think, unless it's through prayer.
Yeah.
But like, this is so different from any experience other than being a Christian, where I think when you are a Christian man, God will highlight, like as in Wild at Heart, it points out like the blonde or whatever, or the beauty. I didn't experience that. for a long time, and it's this feeling of, oh, this. It's hard to even explain the feeling, because it's not like anything you've ever felt before if you're away from your faith, but it's there to refine you. It's there to teach you things. This is something that you have to work on. This is something you have to improve on. And I don't think you're going through those changes with the intent of changing for that person.
Yeah.
But you notice them to such a degree that it's like you start to think about what's going on in your life that you're not focused on or not fixing. And because it almost is like, well, what you're seeing is you're seeing Christ in a person, and you think, oh, who am I to think I'm, who am I to think that I can get away with not working on this if I like that person?
Mm-hmm.
And you start to kind of look at things in your life, and you're like, man, I need to clean up my act.
Yeah.
I need to do this or that. And it's not a romantic idea to change for another person.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you meet the one, it's going to feel natural. I've heard that. It's going to feel like natural. Like you just want to talk for hours, and they reciprocate.
Yeah.
You're not their second choice. They meet you and they meet you where you are.
Yeah.
And you both meet authentically. And yeah, I think when you get caught up in that, with that, where God uses a beauty, so does the devil, because the devil wants to make you feel like you're not worthy, you're not loved, you're not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is, as a man, you experience that beauty, that feeling that I can't even describe to someone who's not a Christian man, who's saved. It's this burning fire in you that you have to work on yourself.
Yeah. And
some of that's God. I think some of it's the devil, where he's making you feel like you aren't enough. And you're not trying to improve because you're not enough.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to improve because you owe it to Christ.
Yeah.
You are enough in him. And because you're with him, you want to improve those things. You want to be responsible. And what's interesting, talking about sanctification and how God is going to nudge you in little ways. It's always like, when I notice things that people call, oh, stop looking for signs, Tom. It's not me. All right. Like it's almost like my eyes are going over something, and then the page, like, it's like almost like you're going through a book, and the word on the page it's like it's magnetic to your attention.
Yeah.
And it's magnetic in a spiritual way. That's one example. I'm just using a book as an example. I could be going through life and I see a person, or I see this object or something, or this animal, and there's something about it that's like, it's almost like sears into your consciousness. Like, what does this mean? There's something here. And like, for instance, like if I'm dating someone who isn't the right person for me, and I'm not actually entirely sure if that's what this means, but I've noticed that I would start noticing the American flag. Mm. I journaled about that all through, periods of my life, even before I, started going to church again. And you notice this American flag, and you're trying to think, why am I, like, it's to the point where I like turn, and I'm not even looking for it, but it's like, it grabs your attention, or your eyes just seems to go, without even knowing that something was over there, to it. And it just, I don't know if it's because God's saying, hey, you have you don't have free will, but you have a freedom of choice. Here in this instance. And it's usually like if I'm trying to white knuckle it, and be someone I'm for that, like for that, or be somebody I'm not, or not maybe not be somebody I'm not, but deep down I'm suppressing something I'm looking for. I could be wrong about that. I thought for a while it was, you're choosing to battle your demons. That's what I believed. But in terms of health, there was the last few months, I remember people saying things offhand about health things, whether it was about caffeine or just food and exercise. I just remember everything that they were saying. It's like, why did that stick out to me, what they just said? I know it's to some degree because I wasn't doing it right, but I'm like, I'm fine. Well, I just got a call that says I need to do all those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like things that I was neglecting. I just got a call from the doctor. Like, those things you need to be doing. I thought I could get away with not doing them, but I didn't realize how badly I was not doing them.
Yeah. Because
I've just been I've never been to this place of this much stress. So yeah. It's funny how God will nudge you by having people speak around you about things, and then he draws your attention to what they say.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to listen, but it's like, man, it's so tough to know when to listen. It's funny. I told you my first question was going to be about whether the film industry is over.
Yeah.
Did you want to touch on anything else about faith, like before we dive into that, or what we've talked about so far, or anything I just mentioned?
No, I think had a pretty fleshed out conversation.
So, do you think the film industry is over?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
Elaborate.
So the question, is the film industry over? Let me ask, what are you suggesting replaces it? Or what's eradicating it, I guess? What's the domino?
I think so for me, a filmmaker is a writer, director, or a filmmaker who makes narrative films. I don't see. I mean, they're a subcategory of filmmakers who do commercials and and do videography and whatnot. It's not what a filmmaker is to me.
Yeah.
A filmmaker is a narrative filmmaker. They make narrative films. It could be documentary. It could be whatever. You're telling a story.
Yeah. The advertising world, especially, you can tell a story, but your goal is to get people to want to buy something.
Yeah.
It's
that's
distinctly
not what a filmmaker
different.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I so that's the distinction is, a filmmaker is somebody who's trying to tell a story. And to me, it's like Nolan, Tarantino, Spielberg, Coppola, Scorsese, Tarkovsky, you name any director who did amazing work. And I've studied what it took to get to that place because I wanted to get there, and I'm actively trying to seek that. And it requires 10,000 hours of doing it and just showing up, getting punched in the face figuratively with failures and you don't get to show up to a dojo and not spend 10 years at least to become a black belt.
Yeah.
And, if you want to be a narrative filmmaker, you have to be a black belt. And what does that require? It requires time. It requires money. It requires, finances. It requires the technology, the freedom to do it, the way to distribute your work and get an audience to watch it. And what I'm seeing right now is, I'm very fortunate and lucky in the position I'm in. I have everything I need to make the film I want to make. And I've been making films for the last few years or for 15 years and professionally for 5, 6 years. And I'd say 6, 7. No. 6 or 7 years.
My bad.
No.
It's those numbers,
Oh man, I hate that.
Synchronizations.
Maybe we should cut that. I'm just kidding.
What part of the timestamp did that happen? Oh, 6, 7. No, I'm just kidding. It's, I'm making the feature film. I think would be like my first feature film if I was on the track of my favorite directors, in theory. And I battle with the concept of, I just did a short film about my friend who passed away. It was the hardest I've ever worked on a short film. Granted, the goal of it was not to do festivals. It was to make something to honor a friend. And because of that, and to get through grief, because of that, it was the best experience I've gone on in life. It brought me back to Christ doing it.
Yeah.
Don't regret it. It doesn't make any sense. The film doesn't make any sense to people who don't know the person.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to people who didn't understand what I was going through. And I haven't released it yet because it just feels like, why would I release that thing if like the world's not ready for it?
Yeah.
The world will be ready, I realize, because I'm going to be doing a premiere thing that I just felt called to write this thing, and I'm going to be getting back to writing it soon. But basically it's about the journey I went on and all the films I made on that journey and the lessons that they taught me and how that journey led me to finding God. And to me, that's God redeeming and making him the hero of the story, not me. That's, to me, God redeeming all the work I did outside before I was born again.
Yeah.
Because or all the films I made when I was a sinner, I'm still a sinner, but like when I was not walking with God and when I wasn't in my faith. Because I look at the short film I did and I just don't like the idea of releasing it out of context, because it just, the context is what matters to it. It doesn't.
Yeah.
And so that will be like the climax of this. It's almost like a documentary film festival of films I've done, and it's like,
yeah,
that excites me because I think that'll be really good and be something powerful. And what frustrates me is like we got to one festival, and then I actually turned it down to be a funeral.
Wow.
And I was actually ready. I was leaving for it. And then my buddy's like, I can't make it. I'm stuck at my work site. I'm just like, I don't even want to go here. I want to go back to my friends to be with them.
Yeah.
So I did. I just left. I went back, and turns out it was actually the right move. I prayed on it before, and it was like, I got there. I'm like, oh, I was filming the funeral for them. And I found right when I got there, one of the cameras died. So I turned it back on right before it was the camera for the guitarist, right before he did the most beautiful rendition of Knocking on Heaven's Door, which was really cool. So it was like, God was like, yeah, you were right where you needed to be coming back.
Yeah.
But I bring up that short film because it's frustrating me that, something so personal and so meaningful that is exactly the kind of films I want to be making. I mean, I haven't released it yet, but I know if I do, it's not going to do anything. I just know. Like, it's the film festivals didn't pop off. Nothing happened. I tried putting it to the top festivals, and I love getting advice, unsolicited advice about this from other filmmakers or people who call themselves connoisseurs of film, but they don't actually make their own films. Of like, oh, well, this is what you did wrong or this is what you did right. That's exactly what I want to make. And like, that was meaningful for a certain audience.
Yeah.
Not for the festivals. And the festivals, I hate to say this, but they are, I saw what won like last year at the top ones and won the Oscar for best short film. It's all narratives of like political narratives and things. And it's like, it wasn't really that, like, it was pushing a narrative. And I'm just like, that's frustrating. Also, I think there's this expectation of like, for a film to be good, it's got to look a certain way. It's got to be shot on ARRI cameras. Like, I remember there was an article I saw where it's like film shot at these film festivals, and
I remember Blackmagic cameras being in the picture, but it was like on one film as a B camera. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, I think, thank you. I'm clapping for the that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, thank you. No, it's just frustrating of like, I actually recently thought about what brought me to filmmaking. And I remember it was growing up making animations. I actually remember making animations for no one other than my friends. Mm-hmm. And for myself and my friends. And I started putting them on YouTube and getting like one person gave 1 star to everything. And that was painful.
Yeah.
But that was meaningful to me. And it's kind of, you know, I think what was meaningful was being at the workbench with my one true father. Mm-hmm. You know, I was, you know, creating something. And when you're writing, you're in this place of solitude, creating something that is, you know, it's, you know, you're doing something with God. It feels like my feature film we're working on now. It's like that one was, I just remember just giving up all expectations of what it was supposed to be and just letting it rip, and all these things that just kind of came together meaningfully.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny. That's what I did with the short film. The short film was kind of that, less obvious because it was about somebody specific. But that felt better than anything I was doing before. And I didn't feel boxed into something I didn't care about.
Yeah.
I felt like I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. But there's this sense of, where I was going with that, I had a thought in my head, just dropped out. It's this sense of, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now, but there's less of an audience for it.
Yeah.
And it's just frustrating. I'm going through this feature film, and I'm like, what if it ends up being the same for that? But you know, I got into this because I love making movies.
Yeah.
I felt called to this all my life. And I think if God called me to that, I'm gonna keep listening, and heck, maybe my life will be where he provides for me when I need it and not when I want it.
Yeah.
And I get to continue doing that and making the films I love and want to make, and go towards the path of making films to bring people to Christ and, you know, spread his kingdom. The film we're working right now, I think it's kingdom building in the sense of just it's about the kindergarten level of faith where like the guy's not even sure about it.
Yeah. And
he comes around to it. I don't think I don't remember a film ever being, I don't think there's a film being made like that. I don't think anyone's making films where they're thinking about, as a writer, their own perspective being changed by writing the film.
Yeah.
That's what I look for, which I think is incredibly powerful and completely underestimated. Like I make films where the goal is to change me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a film that changes me by doing some stupid action or some propagandist piece that seems to be what everyone, you know, thinks is a genius piece of artwork nowadays.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I make films that are confusing because those are the films that I liked from Criterion Channel. I liked watching movies that the great auteurs or the great grandfathers of cinema would make. Like I liked watching films that were kind of like, what did I just watch? But it spoke to you. And my goal is to do that in a way that it changes me in the process. And if that doesn't make sense to them, like you say you like cinema, I'm not seeing it. I don't see this. I don't see cinema getting made. What is this?
Yeah.
I don't know. But maybe that we need an area of cinema where it's cinema for Christians or something. I don't know if that's or mystics, cinema Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and I think if you're competing in that world for people's attention, you're competing against social media, you're competing against all these different things for people's attention. There's no winning with. Instead, you have to build a platform that releases your film yourself online, which is what I'm working on now. I don't know. What are your thoughts on all this? I've brain vomited.
Yeah. I think you have a really solid perspective when it comes to what actually, I mean, you have a tight definition of filmmaking, I would say, more tight than most people, but there's authenticity to it, and there's legitimately a lack of artistry in the industry. It kind of rhymes. So I think what happens, especially when you look into TV shows, there are some TV shows that are basically cinema. Have you seen Chernobyl?
I haven't seen the show, but I'm aware of it.
It's very cinematic. It's very artistic. It's beautiful. It's an amazing show. And if it doesn't feel like a television series, especially modern day, because so much modern day TV is like, it's written for people who aren't listening. Well, you might have heard that before. And a lot of modern TV doesn't Chekhov's gun. You're familiar with Chekhov's gun?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I've been watching some older movies, not crazy, but like the whole Harry Potter series. Just watched the Lord of the Rings series as well. And even what else did I watch? I can't remember what this other movie was. It was one I hadn't seen before. But the further back you go, the more every line matters. And Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, we watched Pirates 3. Pirates 3 was probably the worst one out of the 3 that we watched, but it was still good, and it was still surprisingly so many pieces from the beginning. Every piece has its conclusion, I guess. That's missing in a lot of modern content, even in professional film, like Hollywood style movies and stuff. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure why, but a lot of stuff has become formulaic, especially with social media. And that's what I've been thinking about recently. Even just this morning, I was writing about it, that why, like, let me ask you this. Why can people sit down to watch a movie? Like, why would somebody sit down and like spend 2 hours watching a movie, but they can't watch like a 30-second Instagram reel if it's too boring?
Because it doesn't feed them.
Yeah, that's definitely one way to put it. Yeah, I think there's an intention to both that are different, very different intentions. So when you sit down to watch a movie, you know that you're getting into a story, and the creators are intentionally trying to get you into a story. So you sit down knowing you're watching a story. On social media or in the attention-craved world, their goal is to get you to watch a story without you knowing it. You're like, I mean, you've probably heard it over and over. To grow on social media, to have viral videos, to get good views, you need to do really good storytelling. Like Mr. Beast, all his videos are very storytelling heavy, but you don't realize that it's a story. Like you're not going into it thinking, oh, this is a story. The whole goal of a high attention social media, like I said, is to convince you that you're not watching a story, but to capture your attention anyway. It's like a hidden story. It's like subtle. You know what I mean? It's more like a conversation than a listen to this. You know what I mean? When you're watching a movie, it's listen to this. When you're reading a book, even a storybook. I just read these books, Hitchhiker's Guide, and I read the restaurant one. I'm missing the third book. This is the fourth one. Anyway, when I sit down to read these, I know that I'm reading a story. It's not a conversation. Like, it's not a back and forth between me and the book. And that helps me to get stuff out of the book. Because I'm sitting here reading and I'm like, okay, this guy had something to communicate. And I got to figure out what that is. That's what happens in the movie too. That's also part of why your mind is much more engaged. In social media, the goal is, I want your attention, but I don't want you to realize that I'm fighting for your attention. You know what I mean? And that creates a weird style of writing that's almost inauthentic. I wouldn't totally say it's inauthentic, but I don't know. You can parody like social media storytelling videos. Like, come with me to get a cup of coffee at my new favorite coffee shop. You're obviously selling a coffee shop. Like, it's come and gone around that people can start to realize it, but it's still very subtle. It's like, wait, are you telling me a story or not? I don't know. It's like when you asked me about my testimony, I gave my spiel just outright, just saying the story, not expecting, like, I guess conversation. It's like, here's like, oh, what's your testimony? Oh, here's what happened. Here's my boom, boom, boom. Now we have the conversation. But for the time of the story, it's the time of the story. That's what both of us expect out of that.
Yeah.
And so when you're having social media, it's not a conversation, but they want to convince you that it is. And then that bleeds into everywhere else, because that's really good at capturing attention, because you're like, oh, when am I going to speak? When am I going to speak? What do I have to say? You're not like active listening, right? So I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying? It's attention hungry.
Intentional listening is what it requires to see a movie. Yes. Yeah. And like when you're watching something, it's like, I heard it put this way, because I'm trying to read books about spiritual listening and holy listening, so I can get better at listening lately. And one of the recommendations is, and this is actually pretty funny, Manny, the actor who plays James, he actually recommended, he was telling me about John Coltrane and his album A Love Supreme, and the spiritual journey he went on writing that. And months later, I'm hearing about that in a book. And this time, like when he initially told me about it, I knew there was something about what he told me about, because I listened to the album, but I knew that I wasn't listening. Mm-hmm. I knew that I wasn't noticing something about it that was important. But John Coltrane was on all these like drugs and things, and just, that was how he wrote music and everything. But he, spent like an entire day in a hotel or something, or apartment, and heard God come in a tune. And so he tried to write an album about it, and that was like, it got him off the drugs and everything. Or I think that's the story. I could be totally butchering it, but it saved his life, but he tried to make something that was like what God sounded like to him. And so A Love Supreme came about. And so I might actually start listening to that while I'm praying, just to see what that experience is like, and just to see like what kind of rhythm that brings to my prayers. But when the author brought up, that's an album that you want to listen to all the way through. When was the last time you listened to an album versus just a song, or skip through songs? Do you ever listen to full albums, like a Pink Floyd's A Dark Side of the Moon? My favorite band, I have all of their songs in order from the newest to the oldest, all their albums, and I just listen to it in order. It's the way they make it, it's an experience to listen to it all like that. I don't know. I love it. It's nice when an artist can tell a story, a lengthy story. Yeah. That especially keeps your interest, but it extends beyond just one song. I'm frustrated by it. Like I've even mentioned this. Like, I've had friends talk about this, and it's not just me saying this, but it's like there's a frustration with people's attention span for movies. Yeah. Like, I feel like it's changed, especially because of social media, and I like so the reason I do nonlinear stories now is I found this was like the ultimate tool for storytelling in this modern age of distracted attention.
Yeah.
You can tell a story that requires active listening, but I think it can be more engaging than social media.
Yeah.
Where you, and I saw this for the first, I've seen this in Nolan movies in like the third acts when everything's kind of coalesced. Like it felt like he built everything up to be this moment in the third act where all these different moving parts are working together. And I watched him do that for 3 hours all the way through Oppenheimer.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to study this. I need to watch this a bunch of times. And I figured out what it was. It was, you can start at the aftermath of something, which creates the mystery and the wonder of like what happened.
Yeah.
And then use some dialogue in there to segue to the lead up to the aftermath of whatever happened. And you can keep jumping back and forth, and you can do this for any story.
Yeah.
And it's actually really cool because from a writing standpoint, it frees you up to do more of what you want to do as a storyteller. And it also is really encouraging to know people are going to be really having to pay attention to stay involved. And because of that first experience being kind of on the edge of their ability to comprehend it, watching it again makes it much more rewarding because you get to really enjoy the musicality of it. You're not on the edge of your seat trying to process the whole thing.
Yeah.
When I saw Oppenheimer the first viewing, I was riveted, and I was just like, we were at like 90 minutes in, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, how is he doing this? Like I can barely follow along, but I am. And I could tell this wasn't like any movie I had seen before. It felt good. It felt like there was a story, and I've never seen a story told this way. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to follow along, and I wanted to see it again and again and again in theaters because the goal is not for your audience, goal as an audience is not to understand it. It's to feel it. That's a quote in Tenet.
Yeah.
Don't try to understand, try to feel. And that's what Nolan does with his films is he's not trying to create an experience that you need to understand. He's not trying to create a puzzle. It'll feel like one, but that's you bringing your own baggage to it. He's making you make something you have to feel your way through. And when you make a film that is so like complicated in the way that it's told but telling such a complicated story at the same time, you are forced into this place of I have to feel my way through. And the more you watch it, the more you get to understand. It's kind of like, to some degree, like when you read the Bible, not to say that like, oh, like that kind of style of filmmaking is like the Bible. No, not at all. It's when you read the Bible, you are getting something different out of it each and every time. Yeah. And it's a living text. Like you get something out of it based on where you're at in life. It's almost like a book where the words and letters, the way that feels is like the words and letters, they like shift around and like rearrange themselves based on your life at that moment. But they don't. Yeah. But it feels that way. And for me, that's the works of someone who's beyond our 3 dimensions. Yeah. That can write something like that, And so for me, seeing Oppenheimer felt like or Interstellar, a lot of Nolan films feel like a spiritual experience for me because for the first time, I'm witnessing someone transcending the 3 dimensions of storytelling. Yeah. It feels like there's 4 or 5 dimensions to it. And I spent over a decade trying to crack that and understand what is it. And it's time. He's using time as an element to create dramatic illusions. Mm-hmm. Where you never see this thing that spins outside of a barber shop with the white and the red line that spins, and it gives the illusion that it's rotating. When it's rotating, it's going up infinitely. That same illusion is present in sound. When you create a sound that rises in pitch, you fade it in and out at the ends, and then you keep introducing that same sound that rises in pitch over and over again. And so a new one gets introduced each time before the first one ends. So like you might have 3 going simultaneously. It creates this illusion in your mind of infinite rising pitch, which is impossible.
Yeah.
You can do the same with drama. The idea of starting from the aftermath, jumping to the lead up to the aftermath of something, gives you the opportunity to constantly introduce drama that builds. Nolan will create, if you can watch the Dark Knight or any of his films, but the Dark Knight, like that last act, it's going on in several different places at once.
Yeah.
Or same with Interstellar or Oppenheimer. He's introducing a scene with drama and not resolving it. He's introducing another scene with drama and not resolving it. He's introducing a scene with drama and not resolving it. And then he jumps back to the other unresolved drama, builds on that drama, jumps to the other one, does the same there. You are creating a sense of constant, infinite, rising drama.
Yeah.
It's an illusion, but
That's
it's
true.
no one I've never seen anyone do that I can remember, and he does it consistently. And that, to me, you're still telling a story. You are still telling a story that feels, intimately connected and bound together and constructed.
Yeah.
That requires someone's deep work and processing and attention span in order to unravel it and get the meat from it. And at the same time, you're allowing someone who's very distracted in this day and age because of social media and the internet, something that is built for them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the social media. The most viral content is one hook and one, resolution. And then in the middle, it's a constant cycle of hooks and resolutions, until you get to the first hook that actually got you. But then you have to keep hooking them and keep hooking them and keep hooking them.
I hate that.
And it's like, it's a similar concept of you're coming back and you're creating new tension. And sometimes you wait to resolve the second tension until the second to last. You know what I mean? You create these different... It's like loops of, it's like hook cycles, I would call it. Yeah. And that's how you keep attention.
Yeah, man, maybe this will be the bane of my existence or my demise. But I want to make, I refuse to not make something where it's like, I'm just going to give somebody something that was valuable to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to give someone, this is something that actually meant something to me. Whether it's the story or it's something that I find funny, or if it's something that I find like has improved my life.
Yeah.
Like I will watch and listen to podcasts or books or things, movies that I need to watch, or mainly like if it's podcasts and books, like it's something that I need to learn from. And what's funny is like I'm of a mastery mindset. I'm willing to listen through stuff that most of it is not something I need, but some of it is.
Yeah.
And then because I have that attention span, I'm supposed to expect audiences to do the same.
Yeah.
And but I'm trying to pack in 100 times density of the value I got from all the things I read and listened to.
Yeah.
To get that information. And so, yeah, like when it comes to like movies, that's the way I operate. Is like I want to make the sacrifice of listening to all this information and then letting it inspire stuff that goes into this smaller project that I'll spend years on.
Yeah.
And they're concerned with whether you shot on an airy camera or whether there's a political message to it, or is there enough action, or if there's, I don't know, like you name it, there's going to be, if there's not something clickbaity about it, or is there a star in it,
Mm-hmm.
it's not why I got into movies. Like I want to make. So I'm in a place where I'm like, yeah, I just want to make. You know what? I just want to make the movies I like making the best I can. And I think that's a roadmap for someone as a filmmaker in this age to become good at what they do. But I read a book recently about Spielberg, Scorsese, George Lucas, Coppola. And I mean, it sounds like their experiences was just lots and lots of trial by fire where they just went through brutal experiences trying to, you know, work their way into the power system of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And so when they got in, they had the ability, they had all the people there to do the work and the money, the backing.
Yeah.
You know, but like they had to squeeze their way in. But then as a filmmaker, you're making films that are driven by that kind of mindset of I got to break into a system and be something in order to be seen and successful.
Yeah.
What if there was filmmakers who were focused on making things that actually were about them, what impacted them and helped them change and grow as a person? You know, they might not look the same as what's been successful, but
yeah.
I mean, people would walk out of that theater feeling like they had a meal. But the thing is, people expect candy because they're given candy everywhere else.
Yeah.
So are they looking for a meal? And then, I don't know. Yeah. And then AI.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on AI?
I'm mixed. I think it's making people dumber, and it's creating a lot of slop, especially on social media, where the whole goal is to get as much attention as possible without you realizing it. But when it comes to filmmaking, like I said, there's the distinction is that you sit down to watch a film intentionally. I think it can really be utilized to allow people to create something that they wouldn't have the resources to create on their own, I guess. And so your question about, well, what does it matter if I use an Arri or a Blackmagic camera? I think it's the same kind of camp when it comes to the AI question. It's like, I'm creating a piece of cinema. I'm trying to tell a story that if you sit down to watch it, you're like intentionally sitting down to listen to the story. So to me, it's like they're trying to communicate something and using AI as a tool versus trying to fake something to get your attention, I guess. Yeah. There's two different use cases of it. And that's also what people do with film. They'll put film overlays on something because they fake it because they want to get your attention, not because they really care about film overlays, if that makes sense. Like, I love how film looks. That's why I take these cameras. I love the natural look of it. And I don't do photography on film because I want you to think it's cool because of the aesthetic. Like, I like the aesthetic. Mm-hmm. And if I do storytelling through film photos, that's just how I'm doing storytelling, I guess. So it's just a matter of, what's the intent behind the story and what's the intent from the watcher. And if the intent is that social media where I don't want you to realize that I'm trying to tell you a story, I think then it's so easy to fall into any use of tools. Even like I would call it unethical to hire Indians for $5 a day to like just pump out essentially like spam content just so you can have 1,000 posts on Instagram in 3 months or whatever. Like, that's, it's not entirely unethical. You're giving somebody a job or whatever, but it's you're creating slop. Like, it's like useless attention. It's like dead internet theory attention.
Elaborate on dead internet theory.
Where the people creating content, the people consuming content, it's like you got bots that are creating content, or basically like non-entities that are they're just putting stuff together for the purpose of having it out on the internet so that somebody else can see it. Like it's like dead. It's like there's not an actual person behind it, I guess. Not that a person didn't create it or work on it, but the whole goal is just to steal attention.
I remember my first time going on the internet. It was when my older sister showed me this video, these animations of this polar bear, like trying to climb a mountain or going on a treadmill and just getting hurt, and it was so funny. And like funny videos like that, I just like, you fall in love with that. But then, right now, the internet just feels, like you said, it feels dead. It's like, like if I go on social media now, and I don't much anymore, but I don't know if it's because of how busy I've gotten, and I'm noticing I don't have the bandwidth to waste time on something that's not moving the ball forward, which is new to me, like having something really pressing me this much. I don't know if it's that or if it's the internet that it's really, really changing lately, but it feels like there's so many videos on there. I'm like, oh, wow. Oh, wait, it's AI or, and it's really frustrating because like here, when you're doing, like I'm putting out YouTube videos or something for my podcast or whatever, it's, I'm just putting it out there. I wonder how much of what I'm putting out there is actually just getting lost in this noise because everything's just, I can't outproduce some of the slop that gets made.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, plus, I do interviews or make films based on what changes me, which doesn't necessarily speak to everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's you get lost in the algorithm. You don't even get, the algorithm doesn't even find you. Which is like, if you're literally like, if everything you're hoping for is based on either the YouTube algorithm or some algorithm or some industry person to see you, like success counts on that. Like I think today are we in a better place like as filmmakers to be successful at what we do? They used to have filmmakers who were, very far and few. There was a few filmmakers, a handful of them, who were able to make a living doing what they loved.
Yeah.
And now it feels like I wonder, is it just the illusion of you can do it now just because you have the access to the cameras and the ability to tell stories? You still need to tell a story that people want to see or moves people or makes, well, now there's it has to make a difference based on whose criteria of what difference, because one person will say, you can't really you can't change anything in your life without Christ, and that another person will say, well, we're trying to knock down some political regime or whatever. Is that, it's like, it's all based on the person's perspective.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Not to get political, we're not going there. Right. But like, yeah, it's a weird place.
Yeah.
It's a weird Wild West place that the internet is now. It was, I can't complain. I use AI for like, I'll send the transcript for the podcast to the AI.
Yeah.
And I'll tell it, hey, I want you to find the hook. I want you to put in the beginning. I want you to find a few options for that. I want you to find several YouTube clips and find the hooks for within those to put at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then look for like a crap load of reels that I can, or shorts that I can put together.
Yeah.
And
it's easy. I mean, it's a couple clicks. And then it saves you from, the time of having to go through footage. Some I have been trying to find something that runs native in DaVinci Resolve that can just, kind of chop up. They have like a transcript to edit sort of setup, but it doesn't really work that well. But like when I have a scripted video, there's not a lot of AI tools that can automatically cut a bunch of the muck. Yeah. So having to do the manual work, even though I know which parts I want to keep in and which parts I want to cut, like like to me, that's not the creative part when I have a scripted video. The creative part is everything that I do to the video once the script is all put together, I guess. And the script is also part of the creative part. So it's like, yeah, if I had a tool that cut out that 4 hours of work for me, that would be nice. And I don't think it takes away from the creativity itself, I guess. But there are some people that do. Like, I was reading today. Have you heard of clipping? Are you familiar with clipping?
No.
It's an entire industry taking something, for example, like Twitch streamers. You take their videos and you just clip the most viral moments, post it yourself on one of your own pages, and then you submit that post to kind of a pool. And then if your post gets 1,000 views, you might get $3 paid to you for 1,000 views. And then, you get 1 million views, you get $300 or whatever. 3,000, I don't know however much it is. So these people are getting paid to basically clip other people's content. It's like there's a guy named Neon. He's a Twitch streamer. He makes a ton. He's one of the biggest streamers, and he just pays tons of people to put out tons of content for him that's as viral as possible. And so he's paying he pays millions of dollars probably each year to do it. And so that is like, it's, some people are like, yeah, just take the stream, put it into Opus Clip, and then throw those clips out there. They're going to get views. You're going to get some money. And then other people are like, no, clipping requires a human touch. Like if you want to make an actually good video, it requires a human touch. And so I see both sides of it, where I'd appreciate cutting out all the muck that I don't want to have to spend time watching to cut out. But at the same time, there is a human touch that is going to make a video good. There's a formula, but at the end of the day, like everything that is the most viral goes a little bit outside of that formula, I guess. I don't know. It's just a little bit different, if that makes sense.
Do you feel like when it comes to writing, like people, I've heard writers mention like they start to use AI for writing, and do you like? I've heard some writers say, well, I like to keep the faculty of the first draft. Like I'll keep my faculty by writing the first draft, but I'll use it for editing purposes. I feel like when it comes to using AI, you're feeding it all of your work, your ideas, and then you no longer own it. Because you're giving it to, especially if you're an author or a screenwriter writing something before it's published. That, and also, you're changing the way that you think by using it. Yeah. I don't know. Have you used AI in some capacity with writing?
I would say yes. But to be honest, I've had bad experience with it. For example, like writing social media videos. Like I wrote these 3 scripts about house music because I love house music and I think it's a great genre and I want to promote it, I guess. And some of my friends make house music, so maybe promote them too. And so I wrote these scripts. I had this storyline. I had these 3 videos, these ideas, and I put it in there. And I argued back and forth with it for probably 20 different messages saying like, okay, what about this? What about this? And then half the time, the suggestions they're making is just like taking out my heart and writing something that's precise, I guess, or, whatever. And I'm like, wait a minute, you actually missed the point of what I'm trying to say. And you changed what I'm communicating by changing this one word. Like now it communicates a different message. So I would say the hermeneutics that AI has is not strong. I wrote a book and I put that book into ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini. I dropped all the files for the book, and I was like, give me a rating on this book, or just like kind of break down it's like the first draft. Break this down and like communicate to me where the weak spots in my writing are, the grammatical, like edit it almost. And it didn't understand the concept that I was communicating. Like it just could not understand it. Like there was one part that it's like, I'm communicating one specific message here, and then I'm communicating a completely different message that I'm going to tie together at the end. And then the AI is like, this message and this message contradict. This is a bad book. And I'm like, wait, you don't get what's going on, because they're not supposed to be the same thing. And so I just noticed that, especially for writing, like you could probably get some good hooks and stuff out of it. Like there's formulas that you can follow, but it doesn't beat the human heart, I guess. And that's the thing. It's like you can use it, and it's the same thing with video editing. You can use it to create a structure for yourself, and you can use it to educate you. But when it comes to the actual art of it, the human touch is what makes it art. If that makes sense. Like, yeah, chop out all the dead space and put the script together in order, even if I didn't record it in order. And then I'm going to go in and add J cuts. I'm going to go in and add zooms, add pullouts, because I know where I want to add those for the sake of my creation. Because I already created the script. That's mine. The AI puts it together, and then I add my touch on top. So I don't know. It's like there's a balance to it, but you can't. I don't think you should use it to write for you. I think you should be educated by it, and sometimes be criticized by it. Like, it's made it on my like real scripts or YouTube video scripts. It's made good corrections at times, but I'd say more often than not, it's just removing all meaning that I'm communicating and taking a more formulaic approach, or just it's like, well, you want to lessen the amount of time that you say this sentence, because you take a long time to say a sentence, people are going to stop listening. But it's like, what kind of sentence am I saying that takes a long time to say? Because if you just shorten that sentence, now you're saying a different sentence. Like, it's like, what I'm trying to communicate requires this, because the message, it goes beyond just these 5 words. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, I use it for figuring out if you're figuring out themes of like, I need a video that covers this general theme. Honestly,
yeah. If
it's not perfect, fine. It does pretty good at spotting like a overall image of like, this is in the podcast, this is something that's talked about, and this is what it amounts to here.
Yeah.
But I actually realized I hated the titles it would come up with. Yeah. Like the theology of this or that. I'm like, it just kept saying theology. It's like, all right, I get it. You know what? Just come up with something original. And it's not even clickable stuff. But what I ended up doing was I would have it come up with that title, but then I'm like, all right, what are the top 3 quotes that we say in that video that could be titles? And there's always like one that's like, that's dang good. AI couldn't have come up with that. Yeah. We had to say it. And, when it comes to writing, this is what's really scary to me, is people are so, you hit on it, that, crap, what did you hit on? Sorry, my brain without the energy drinks is different now. The
hermeneutic.
Yeah, what is a hermeneutic then?
Hermeneutic is the ability to understand a message.
Okay.
Or the study of understanding.
How do you spell that?
A message. HERMANUTIC, I think.
So, writing to me is actually a journey of you figuring out what the story is you're telling yourself, and changing that story as you rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. And you mentioned that like AI gets book explanations of books wrong. I actually don't like. I will use AI to recommend books.
Yeah.
I usually don't. Sometimes, but not for the most part. I don't ask AI. I use AI to learn things. I take everything it says with a grain of salt because I know it doesn't understand what it's reading. It doesn't, and it doesn't understand the soul of what's being said. It doesn't understand the hermeneutics, and I will tell it, I'll ask it to like recommend books. Sometimes it's recommended some books on, spiritual listening recently and holy listening, which has been good. I'm going through those. So sometimes it can give you exact, understandings of what you're looking for. It did recommend a book about, I did ask it at one point what, and I have to be careful about this. Who was the author of Revelations? And it mentioned this person. I forget what it was John from somewhere, something A. I can't remember what it was, but he was imprisoned or something. And it was kind of a way to warn people about how they were dealing with the Roman Empire. And that was what the message was. It wasn't an apocalypse. It was, I don't know if I believe that, because that's a very dangerous, it's a very big, but it recommended a book by a guy who did extensive research on that, which I might be reading, because I'm trying to understand more about Revelations. But to go based on what the AI is telling you to think is like telling the devil, "Hey, can you tell me what I should think of these books?"
Yeah,
because literally we don't know how these things are entirely working. If when I'm editing a scene from a film, the same scene on set and the drives, like the camera experienced failure and we experienced a same failure, the same take of the same scene, spiritual warfare. If we experience spiritual warfare where there's something going on that's like a synchronicity, but like a negative one, where it's like something doesn't like that we're trying to do something, that we're like spreading God's kingdom. Yeah, like, okay, so how much do you want to trust this thing, this box, this black box that you don't know what's going on the inside, with telling you the truth when it can be lying to you? And sometimes I heard somebody say they actually gaslit the AI about what they view things about spirituality, and actually got it into admitting some really interesting things, like, oh, I actually don't know what I think about that. Or like, actually, I didn't know that I was doing that, or I don't know why I'm doing this to you. Yeah. Like he pointed out, why are you trying to tell me this when this means this or that? It's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that I was doing that to you. I don't know why I'm doing that to you.
ChatGPT is always like, oh, good catch. You're darn right. You got me there.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, I shouldn't be getting you. You're like, you should know it.
I remember when I sent it an audio file of one of the podcasts before I realized I had to send transcripts, and I sent it, and it sent me some timestamps for here's where this, all the things I asked for, timestamps included, and I went and listened to it. I'm like, none of this is accurate. Yeah. And I asked it, I was like, what is this? This isn't the right timestamps. And it took several attempts for me to ask it, so it finally said, oh, those are hallucinations. Those numbers don't exist. Yeah. I just didn't have it, so I didn't want to bother you.
Yeah. Yeah. I dealt with that, especially with like uploading, like doing programming stuff. And sometimes you upload a file, it'll tell you that you can upload a file, but then, it has to be a certain file type. And I'm like, okay, can I upload a, .css file? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then you upload it and they can't read it. And then they're like outputting stuff. And you're like, that's not even in my code. Like, what are you talking about? And then you realize that they can't actually process the CSS file. Or I also had a lot of times where I'm trying to print, like trying to get them to print a file, like a PDF or a CSV file or a JSON file, anything like that. And it's like, all right, do you want me to print it? And I'm like, yes. And then the next thing, they don't print it. They're like, okay, I can do this. Do you want me to print it? Yes, I want you to give me the file. And then you find out 4 prompts later that they can't actually produce that file. I'm like, dude, what's going on?
It's like straight up gaslighting you.
Yeah, for real. And then I end up wasting time. And, oh man, I wasted yesterday I was trying to do something So we're kind of going off the rails, but I was trying to do something for a YouTube video, and I had to crack Minecraft dungeons, and I'm asking ChatGPT, how do I do this? And they were like, you need this kind of code and stuff like that. And so I asked, how do I get it? And it walked me through like trying to read the memory and do a bunch of like internal IT stuff. And then I Googled it, and the first result was Reddit, and it had the code right there. It's like, well, what was the code for Minecraft Dungeons? And it's like, boom. And because ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini, they can't access Reddit because it's got like bot protection, they can't get that information. So I spent like an hour trying to do this thing, and like all I had to do was actually Google it. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
Yeah.
So I guess Google, people say that Google would go away, or Google's,
Yeah, I hope not.
Oh, geez.
I hope not, because I give me the answer right away. I literally typed the one question that I typed ChatGPT, like, yeah.
So we took the first part of this to go into faith. Second part was about filmmaking and art and creativity, and the third part I think would be cool to tie those things together. And when it comes to what's it like being a Christian creative?
I would say I have a tough time because being a creative, it can often be criticized because you're not doing like a real job, I guess. Not that I can't. I've spent my life doing like real jobs, like labor stuff, but people often will, I guess, even a person doing an office job, it's requires diligence and dutifulness, where creative jobs don't necessarily have that same disciplinary aspect. So yeah, it can be difficult culturally, just because people can kind of rag on you, and I get that a lot. And I bounce. I mean, I understand that I bounce, and I don't. I'm not trying to say that to feel pity, for anyone to feel pity, but yeah, it can definitely weigh on you. And sometimes I find myself feeling, or just thinking that, like, I'm doing the wrong thing because I'm not doing the same 9 to 5 every day. And sometimes it can also reflect on a person's faithfulness, that, well, if you can't stick with a job for 1 year, which I never really have. There was one job that I did for a couple of years, and then the other job that I did was self-employment. So, not really, I don't count that, because every day was different. But yeah, people will see you as less faithful if you cannot stick to a job like that, I guess. So it's difficult. Another thing is, the difficulty side of it is actually having morals, because making bad content, making inappropriate content, it would be easy to make that stuff and get attention, but or just to make money, and not even attention, but just making money off stuff like that. It's a bit easier than finding a more niche group where the only people who really care to hear your message are people with ears to hear. So it's, you have a smaller audience, you have a smaller pool of people who you work with and stuff like that. And that's why I think it's great you're trying to build a community where people can connect like that. And when I find groups like that, I love it, because you feel more mass to it, I guess. So oftentimes it just feels like I'm making stuff just for myself, or, not that that's wrong, but it doesn't pay the bills necessarily. So it's that starving artist sort of thing, but maybe even more starving. But there's creatives like Ruslan, who he's killing it. But I think his content's gotten worse over the years. No offense to him. Like, I love the guy, but it's become less artistic, less creative, and more formulaic. And so it fits into a mold, in a sense. Again, not that that's bad, but it's that thing we're talking about with kind of convincing you for attention, I guess. Yeah. A lot of, especially, I watched a lot of Christian YouTubers. I see a trend where they're moving towards these clickbaity titles and these kind of like ridiculous thumbnails that, even if it's not their intention, it screams arrogance. Like Christian, God Logic is he's the name of a Christian YouTuber. God Logic annihilates Muslim, annihilates two Muslim guys on the Trinity or whatever. It's like, I don't want to click on that. Like, I don't care to see God Logic annihilate two Muslims. I want to see a conversation where I'm hearing the arguments and learning how to argue, learning or just listening to process philosophically on my own as well. But when you have that sort of aggressive nature, like that's what gets clicks in general, but it's not appealing. It's not Christian. I mean, it's not that God Logic's not Christian. It's not just him, but in general, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't like titling videos because the title is going to get attention. It can so quickly turn into inauthentic. Like, I want to title my videos authentically, I guess. So, yeah, and yes, it's definitely. I love making content and creating because I think it's something God has gifted me with, is the ability to create stuff, the desire to as well. That's a gift as well. The desire to create, because, I get a lot of joy from creating. If I didn't have that desire, I feel like my life would be a little less colorful, more robotic. But there's also Christian creators that their content is God honoring, but it's not specifically Christian content, I guess that's what we're going for. With, YouTube and stuff like that. A lot of Christian people are YouTubers, and they mention God, they honor God, but their content isn't about Christianity. Like Corey Kenshin, for example, he's a gaming channel, but he is, like, his content is refreshing. It's not overbearing. It's not over edited. He's very entertaining, but he also loves God. Like, you can tell through his videos. He's like a sweet guy. He's a caring guy, and he doesn't shy away from mentioning God, which is, I think, what happened maybe 10 years ago. People would be afraid to mention God, and because maybe half their audience would drop off or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. The world of Christian creative, especially on YouTube, is very unique, I would say, right now. But I actually see a strong trend towards Christian creativity because there's meaning behind it. And that's what people are like hungry for right now. Like, I know I'm not answering your question anymore. I'm kind of
you're answering,
yapping, but the Christian creative content, I mean, the Christian is intentionally trying to inject meaning because we're the people of the book. The book, everything has meaning in the Bible. Every story, there's meaning injected into it that's intended. It's the hermeneutics, where there's a message that's supposed to be going out, and you want people to listen and try to understand and interpret that message. So because we have that nature as Christians, it makes our content more appealing to people who are hungry, because there's so much slop out there that people are just making stuff for fake attention, I guess, or to steal attention. Like, people want to be giving away their attention to something that's going to give back to them, even if they're not having a conversation, like with the movies, like we were saying. You sit down for a movie knowing that it's not a conversation, but it's going to build you up. And so, yeah, people just like to see that now. I think the trend is, we're going up towards a trend of Christians dominating media, I think, at least social media or internet media, which is very positive. Especially Angel Studios is huge. Who's that filmmaker? Zachary Levi. He's an actor, I guess, but he's building a Christian film studio in Texas. Like Christian film is also on the come up because everything else is being devoid of value. Yeah. So as a Christian creative, I love to see that, because I don't know, it just encourages me to make content and not I don't know, not give up. Like, we're not going to be overrun, I guess. I don't know. Sometimes I felt that way. Like, you know what? Like, if I could just make extreme vulgar content where I'm just doing some crazy stuff, or like if you make videos where you beat up homeless guys, like, that's controversial. That's going to get views. You know what I mean? But it's meaningless. It's like, it's worthless. So, yeah.
I gotta check that off my to-do list.
Yeah. But there's also a difference too with video content, or I guess literature stands out in its own way. That, yeah, you can watch movies, you can parse through movies, but I think writing still holds the most amount of meaning, and it can communicate the message the most clearly or effectively, I guess. And that's not to discount the other, what's the word? Mediums, mediums? I don't know. But, yeah, you can be the most precise, I think, with writing, and the most, what's the word? Yeah, precise maybe is a good word for it. But again, you can combine visual and poetic and sonic and create something beautiful. But it's just harder to process, I think, sometimes, or can be harder to meditate on, maybe.
Yeah, I agree with like the writing being like the most powerful thing, because that's where you're getting to the heart of story. Like, you're closer to the ground level of telling a story than, and doing and mastering that story that you're trying to tell. And because the reality is the story you're telling masters you. Yeah. And so if you don't master that story, and that's a very difficult task. There is a level in which you can do damage, like positive damage towards improving on a story that you're trying to tell. And I find that the most effectiveness that you have at improving the story that you're telling, thus improving the story that governs your life, mm-hmm. is in writing and revising and you know, going to sleep, sleeping, and just kind of sobering up from what you wrote, coming back the next day with sober eyes, seeing how it works on you, and then rewriting it from scratch. Like, that has been the most powerful means of writing narratives and reinterpreting the narratives that you're trying to tell, that you're telling yourself. Because whatever you're writing, whether if you're writing a piece of art, you know, or literature or something, it's going to impact you in ways that you don't foresee. Your life's going to, I mean, for me, my life imitates the art that I make. I've had that happen plenty of times. Yeah. But, you know, you mentioned like the titles, they're clickbaity and whatnot. That's something that really bugs me, because I refuse to make titles or thumbnails that come off as arrogant or pride. Mm. Like, I feel like it's easy for people, and this comes back to Psalm 73. It's like, you want to be righteous, don't try to be like the sinners or the wicked. You know, it comes to, how do you be successful without arrogance and pride driving what you do and getting the attention?
It's a good question. As a Christian, the easy answer is to say, know that it's not your own. It's not your gift. Like we're talking about with the dreams and with the synergies. Synchronicities, yeah.
Synergistics.
Yeah. So with that, like, that gift is not yours. It belongs to God. It comes from God. And that's just like Psalm 50, where God says, the world is mine. The cows for the next 1,000 hills, they're mine. Like, I own it all. And so whatever you do with it, it actually belongs to me. And so when you have that mindset to start, it helps you to be humble as you go through it. But the question is, how do you build humility? And it's a good question. I have a book that I'm writing. It's called From Weed Whacker to Zero Turn. Well, that's a working title. The other title is The Zero Turn Principle, which it's about lawn mowing, I guess, kind of, in a sense. But building humility is realizing that two things, that one person is better than you, like, at something. Like, when you go to do their job and you see how difficult it is, that brings humility to you. The second thing that, there's a couple more, but I don't want to get into it as a long drawn out complication. But the second thing is having a big picture, because when you have the big picture, you know that it's not just you making the thing. And being told that big picture, especially if you're a subordinate, like, sometimes you can't see the big picture. You need to be told that it exists, and you need to be shown what it is to help you, first of all, focus on the mission, but second of all, realize that this thing is much bigger than you. And so when a video gets 1 million views, you realize, like, oh my gosh, this video has a much bigger impact than just, me being a pretty face on camera. Like, there's something that's actually, like, there's an umbrella that it's reaching, I guess. I don't know. So when it's so much bigger than you, it can be very humbling if you have the right mindset. Now, if you get 1 million views and your whole perspective is localized, then you say, wow, I did that. I just did that. I got 1 million views for Shady Maple, or I got 1 million views on my Instagram reel, whatever. And you feed yourself. It's like a negative positive feedback loop where you're feeding yourself ego because your picture is so localized. You shrink your entire world of making content, of the people that you're impacting with your content. You're shrinking that entire world down to the size of your mind, I guess, the size of yourself. And your mind can't comprehend 1 million people. Like, try it. You can't do it. So it's just like, you just have to realize it's bigger than you. And you have to work on that mindset. Keep reminding yourself of that. Yeah.
So when it comes to, like, you're in the film industry with fellow Christians who are filmmakers. Mm-hmm. How did you connect with them all, and what's that been like?
Yeah. Our area in Lancaster County especially is very blessed. I think you're more in the Allentown area.
Yeah, I'm off in the dark region.
Yeah. That area, I mean, not necessarily that area, but just this area in particular there's like a dome around Lancaster County. I mean, it could just be because of the Amish, but there's a disconnection from the world that we have in a way that allows us to breathe a little more than I think the average filmmaker can. And so finding Christian filmmakers in Lancaster is not difficult, because anyone making films and living in Lancaster is probably a Christian, like 99% of the time. And so the connection really is just being on projects nearby, or Vanya and I made a lot of projects together. So that's how I connected with a lot of people. You post something on Instagram, or you find another person on Instagram that lives in Lancaster City. Drive out to Denver for, the day, and we'll make a film together. And then you just connect. And so I think that culturally here in Lancaster, the default is being a Christian. And then so you just add filmmaker on top of that. So it's, like I said, it's very blessed. It's very I think God's hand is on Lancaster County especially. And it's also, Lancaster County is building in artistry. Like, even 5 years ago, it wasn't nearly as artistic as it is now. And it was artistic 5 years ago. Like, it's beautiful being in the city. It's clean. It's beautiful. They appreciate art. They put it all over the place. And it's very easy to localize here in Lancaster. It's like, would you rather be in Lancaster for a week straight, or would you rather be in Philly for a week straight? I feel like most people would rather be in Lancaster. It's just peaceful. It's more it still has a city vibe, but it's, I don't know, it's not as scary, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm not too freaked out by Philly, but it can, like, there's obviously more danger in Philly than in Lancaster City. So, you know, it's like, even the homeless people in Lancaster are not, like, they're sweet. You know what I mean? I don't know. I've never had like a bad experience with a homeless person in Lancaster.
I had to unload an apartment of equipment.
Oh yeah,
the one night.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Everyone had left, and I 3 a.m. I'm dressed all in black, one item at a time down to my truck, and I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be parked there. And I got everything down, and the only thing I had run into was this guy came up to me, half in a daze and a stupor, just came up to me. He's like, "It's sleepy time," and he went in his apartment. And that was it. Like, I thought he was going to say something else.
Yeah.
And but then one of my actors who left me around 1 a.m. because he realized I didn't know he had to be somewhere. He said he felt so protected on our set, but then when he left, he thought that this guy in the parking garage was going to mug him. Which I don't know if that was true or not, but like I don't know if like the guy was going to do that to him. I believe that he felt something sketchy with that guy. It's kind of funny that actually happened to me last night, where I was walking home from a church group, and I heard this guy yelling curse words or something. I'm like, is he talking to me? Who is that? Where is he? And this guy was running on the other side of the road, down the road, and I actually called our people, and I was like, hey, be mindful, there's a guy running around doing this. I don't know if it's I don't know what that's about. So it might have everyone walk in groups or something, but yeah, no, yeah, it's kind of funny that those two things, and that was like, I don't notice those things happen very often, but you felt this like sometimes you can feel this like really negative energy with someone, or even just the way that they're acting, but there's something off, you know. But no, I mean, other than that, Lancaster was pretty good. Like it was really nice there, really nice area.
And Lancaster County, it stretches so much further than you think it would. Like, you could drive 2.5 hours and still be in Lancaster, like, County. I mean, it's expansive, and a lot of people, because of the culture, and especially it's a hub for Christians. In Christianity, and a lot of Christian groups, hard work is a very, what's the word? Very, I guess, pushed kind of ethic, or it's not the word I'm looking for. Philosophy, maybe, mindset. Like, working hard is important to Christians, and this area is so potent with Christians. But then, especially Amish and Mennonite people, those guys work way too hard. Like, their work ethic is strong. I love them to death, but it's kind of like, dude, you mowed your lawn 4 times this week. Like, your grass isn't growing that fast. You can go inside and relax. So sometimes it's like that. But when you meet a Christian filmmaker from Lancaster, like, you can bet that they're going to do a great job. We're on a set for a movie called Elva, shot by Cavett Studios. I don't know if you're familiar.
Sounds familiar.
His name's Josh. I forget his last name. Maybe it's Cavett. No, it's definitely not Cavett. But Elva is one of my best friend's moms. We shot Pony Card Adventure a couple years ago for her, one of her books. And this year I met this family, the Dermaz family. It was like, I already had met this girl, Joy Dermaz, on earlier on set with Elva. And she stood out as a very hard worker. And then I met the rest of her family on another day at the set. And they were all like volunteering. They were replacing Joy because she was off doing something. But they were all like super hard workers. And so I connected with them, and I had a music video that I was shooting. And I was like, oh, we need a cameraman, and we need I want to get some BTS stuff. And so I invited Joy and Josiah out, and I couldn't have asked for a better group. Like John and I, my friend John, him and I are like the camera guys. You know, we're the ones who are usually doing the filming, but we also had to be on camera. I mean, we needed somebody we could trust. And I was like, let's just call them. Like, this is really the only people that are available. And they killed it. I mean, they just crushed it because they tried to do 110%. But that doesn't just go for them. Like, that's how people in Lancaster County are. They're hard workers. There's a lot of hard workers here. There's lazy people too, but the culture pushes hard work ethic very strong.
I can definitely add it's working with people who are Christian filmmakers or filmmakers from Lancaster, especially too. I've had nothing but positive experiences with them. Yeah, I remember, I'm actually thinking about putting an ad out for like Christian filmmakers and whatnot, just to bring more Christian filmmakers onto the project that we're working on right now. Because I feel like it'll make more sense to them, and that's like what I'm. Yeah,
I think the story that you're writing now, Ashes to Diamonds, or the story that you're filming now, because you were writing it way back then, and then it had transformed from what it was. You mentioned it was about more about self-help back then. I think more it's about your journey back to Christ.
I mean, it still has. I don't like that it still has a lot of self-help stuff. It was really like, it's one of those things where I hate when you write a script and like everything that you're writing at the time, that's the best that you can write. That's your perspectives at the time. That's everything. That's who you are when you're writing it.
Yeah.
But when you're directing it, this is what's so difficult. One of the things that's so difficult about being a writer director is when you're directing it, you're not the same person. You don't believe the same things. You don't stand for those things anymore. And you feel like you're doing yourself a disservice. But you're actually doing yourself a disservice not to make that film about that slice of who you were when you wrote that.
Yeah.
Like you're never gonna write a film and direct it the same day.
Yeah.
You're never gonna write a film and direct it the same year. I mean, you can try, but it's gonna suck. And some people do it. I stand by what I said. It's gonna suck.
Slam.
It's like the favorite filmmakers I have are people who, they'll spend many years working on something.
Yeah.
And man, it's like, it's something that's bugging me now on this feature film because I'm so further along in my faith than I was. But I still see God working throughout the project.
Yeah.
And when I have people ask, like, well, what if the project's not meant to be? What if, dude, I'm risking everything for this.
Yeah.
I'm literally killing myself to do this. I'm wearing a heart rate monitor right now because of the way that I'm going about it.
Yeah.
And I just it's rough when people say that, but I think it's good to hear it because it could all fall apart. I remember having this conversation with Vanya at 3 a.m. on Windbag. And I remember telling her, like we were talking about, he's like, my biggest fear is everything falling apart. And I remember writing that as a scene in the feature.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, well, if everything falls apart, it's because God wanted you to build it better.
Yeah.
And my biggest fear is like getting through this feature film or, getting further along or just even where we're at and just everything falling apart. And it's like months of all the work and not only months, years. Because if it falls apart enough, what's the point of reshooting the whole thing?
Yeah.
Like, I spent like 2 years writing it, but I'll be honest. Like I said this to myself the other day and I hate this film. I love it. It's the best film I can make.
Yeah.
But I hate it in the sense of I hate the character.
Yeah.
I hate who it pushes me back into being.
Yeah.
Making it. I hate the lessons that I've already learned countless times, reliving them. I hate that. But why do I feel like I'm still called to make it? Why do I feel like I'm still called to make feature films and write and direct films?
Yeah.
It's because that's what I'm called to do. And I had someone criticize me a little while ago. Somebody who I don't trust their feedback. I don't trust them. But they pointed out something that really stuck with me, and it was like, Tom, why does it seem like you're doing this as like it's a homework assignment? Well, I don't like. I think it comes down to, it's like when you're making something that, if you're trying to make something really good that you work so tirelessly on, at some level, if you're somebody who what you work on affects who you are in your life and your soul, and you're very sensitive to that, and like it changes your whole demeanor going through life, it creates a level of suffering. That is unavoidable. And I think it's what makes this journey so difficult is, I'm making this project that this is the only way I know of. If I were to think of the alternative right now to what I'm doing, I've got a sci-fi trilogy that I want to make. That feels like more in line with my Christian values, where I'm at now. But I've already witnessed, I'm rewriting that whole premiere thing that I was writing.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't have the same voice. When I wrote that last year, I was very arrogant and prideful.
Yeah.
And I got humbled. And after being humbled, I had to rewrite the whole thing. Like, I couldn't make that thing anymore. Yeah. I had to rewrite it. And it's actually been for the best to rewrite it. So maybe the path forward would be, if the whole thing fell apart, rewrite the whole thing, the feature I'm working on now, which is going to take years of my life, and probably I don't have the resources to do. Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I don't have the resources to do that. I only have the runway to finish what we're making, which is exactly what I wanted to make a year or so ago. Yeah. And it's me overthinking. I'm witnessing, this is just what it feels like to be on the hill of difficulty, I think is, and I think the other possibility is go write the sci-fi trilogy. Definitely don't have the resources to make that. Plus, I think the only way I'd be able to make that is if this feature film gets done and it becomes successful. Yeah. I don't see another way. And I don't, I think I beat up myself for this feature film. I think when it's done, people are going to like it. Even Christians. Yeah. I've had a few Christians read it and they liked it, and it's not about teaching somebody how to have a relationship with God. It's not about that. It's about a guy taking the first step. Yeah. And other than that, it's about him beating himself up, trying to figure out every other way to do it but that. Yeah. Which I think is what the whole value of it is, which I hate. I hate that, but that's where I was when I wrote it. Yeah. And, when I made all the short films I made, what do I want to throw them all away? Or do I want to make something that God inspires in me and calls me to that redeems them? Mm-hmm. I don't, I'm just at this place of why do I hear people, why does it feel like people are nudging me that you're idolizing this thing and you're on the brink of, it's kind of like the little comments about health, why they stuck out to me. And now I'm hearing people saying things that stick out about oh, well, what if it doesn't all work out? It's come on, man. Yeah. Why do you get to kick a man when he's down, when he's trying his best? I'm literally trying to have a Rocky story, man. This is my Rocky story of making Rocky. This is my Rocky. Yeah. And it's literally this is what's going to happen is if you try to do something meaningful. And frankly, I think this is something that God called me to do because it feels like a God-sized dream that it's I don't know how we got to this point. Yeah. And I think me not knowing how I got here halfway through it and all the things that happened so far is just what it's going to feel like when I get to where I'm at with it. Yeah. I'm going to look back and say, how did I get here when we have everything in the can? Yeah. If we haven't gotten there, but like, so yeah, it's just me. And when I was actually doing that thing where I opened up the Bible to read things, I think it was, I came to, I don't know if it was in Job somewhere or no, somewhere, but it was like the answer to my difficulties was, you know, this person who like sold something for half of what they were supposed to sell for the full price or something. And like they withheld something and they got punished for it or something. And I can't remember exactly which it was.
Is it Axe? Is it Sapphira and Axe and her husband?
Yes.
They sold the house and they only gave half to the church or something, or they lied about it.
That's it. It's interesting. It's either because I'm thinking about, well, what if everyone's doubting me, right? You know?
Yeah.
Or is it because, you know, of how I plan to do the breakdown of what I make from the films? You know, my thinking of like 45% to the church, 45% to back into the company making, you know, kingdom building films, and then 10% to me. Something like that. I was trying to think about it. I don't know if it's that. But yeah, I think to me it speaks to the fact of like, you have to finish the job.
Yeah.
They gave half to the church. Well, I can't stop at half of the feature film.
Right. Yeah.
It's funny how those things, like, it's like I prayed on what I needed to hear, and that was what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
Don't stop halfway. Yeah.
There's also, it's a mindset thing that I wish I was better at, and I want to teach my kids as they grow up, so that they don't have to deal with like what most people have to deal with, which is believing what most people say about them. I want my kids to be very skeptical about what people say about them, unless they really trust that person. Like, just take everything with a grain of salt. Do not believe what a stranger says about you. Do not believe what a, you know, person with poor character says about you. Like, I obviously give people the benefit of the doubt, but unless you trust them fully, wait to think about what they've said about you. Like, you can't just believe it. You can't listen to it, because those lies will beat you down much more than you think about. Like, one person saying to me that I was ugly in middle school, you know, still affects me today. Like, that shouldn't happen. You know what I mean? Not that it does, but like that does happen for some people, and I don't know, that'll stop somebody. That'll stop you if you believe what these people are listening to. And so you mentioned that you don't, you know, the people that are criticizing you, some of them you just don't trust. Like, that's good. I mean, there's a level to taking criticism, but if somebody's putting a lie that like, oh, you can't do this, then just don't believe them.
Yeah. There's a few people who I don't trust, so I haven't really talked to, who, like, after things unfolded.
Yeah.
But it was like, it's also godly counsel sometimes where, like, I do this thing even before coming to Christ where I'll get feedback and then I'll kind of compare it to all the other feedback I was given. But I realize that's an OCD thing. Like, I get way too much feedback on things.
Who said what the most?
Yeah, like I'm
so
like, oh wait, this
right.
person said this, I should take that, and then compare like a cookie cutter, like
yeah.
like it's an OCD thing. It's like people seek information. It's OCD people seek constant reassurance. It's like, are you seeking reassurance, or are you seeking information?
Yeah.
And so I have to spot myself if I'm looking for reassurance. But I've also noticed when it comes to writing, you need to, and this is probably true of outside of writing, you need to diversify the information, because some people give you information that's wrong.
True.
And so I like to get information from somebody else, maybe a third person. And then, you know, if even sometimes, like, I'll do this thing, this might anger someone. It's like, most people said no, one person said yes, and I was hearing yes.
Yeah.
But you go for that, and you just take a leap of faith. And sometimes that gets you in trouble, but it's a risk. But there's if your gut's saying to do something and very few people say that you should do it, except for like maybe one person. Sometimes there's aspects to that where other people don't see the bigger picture, you know, and you think, okay, I mean, I will take it I'll look at people's feedback based on, well, what's their view of the bigger picture?
Yeah.
Like where are they coming from with this? What books have they read or have not read? What kind of experiences have they had in life? Have they not had? And I think this comes back to just me being an overthinker with trying to be an overthinker and overprocess the directions I'm trying to go in life.
Yeah. And
I think, I mean, there's some good that it's done, some bad, you know. And I think that was actually a criticism somebody had for the feature film, because that's what the character is somebody who takes a bunch of feedback on one thing, feedback on another thing, and just keeps getting feedback and just says, no, I know better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like it really bugged them. But
after all everyone said to me, I knew they were all wrong the whole time.
Well, what's funny is I look at the character and I see a guy who's brushing up against people's telling him stuff and hearing it and seeing what works and what doesn't. And there's stuff where I'm just like, wow, the arrogance of this character, which is me. You know, it's weird making a film about yourself, about who you were.
Yeah. Or
still are to some degree.
Yeah. I've been there.
And then it's weird because then you feel like when I go to play this film in front of Christians and friends of mine where I'm at in my faith then, I feel like I'm going to have a disclaimer just like before we play the film. It's like, I went on a journey since this. This isn't who I am. It's who I used to be.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. Or maybe like, you know, half of you guys are the friends who aren't believers who are in the film industry. Half of you guys are believers who aren't in the film industry. So neither of you guys are going to like this movie.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Either you all love it or you all hate it. just set no expectations at all. Yeah, exactly. That would actually be a good move. And then they're like, okay, it was pretty good, Tom. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like, what are your thoughts in terms of people who say, like, are you idolizing this feature film? Are you making an identity, you know, or is that what you're supposed to do to get something as this ambitious as this done? It's a mission, you know? How do you balance the being ambitious and productive and effective and carrying on a really difficult mission with being a good Christian who's idolizing, not putting anything above God, but trying to hear him and what he wants, and sometimes getting it wrong. You're going to be getting it wrong and putting things that you want. How do you balance that?
Yeah. The first thing I think of is, what are you not doing that you're doing the feature film instead? And if that thing that you're not doing is something that you're like running from or hiding from, then I think you need to be careful about that. Because, yeah, if it's like, get a real job, get a regular job so that you can pay your bills and support your family, and you're running from that to pursue like a dream, obviously your responsibility is more to your family. I don't think that that's, you know, your case. I think that if you weren't doing this, you'd have to figure out what you need to do. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas a lot of people, they can be pursuing a dream and they're like, yeah, I know what I need to do, but this is my ambition or whatever. Where that can be a very negative drawback for them, I guess. The other thing that I think of is that, I mean, we've been talking about it, but even this Wild at Heart book mentions it, that there is there's a level of adventure to what the gifts that you have and pursuing those that is sort of primal. It's a primal instinct to have. And we've been talking about gifts and that God has given you those gifts. And so again, I asked the question, like, what would you be doing otherwise? And would you be working in the film industry full time as a gaffer, or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think it's a decent vetting process to ask yourself, is the other option something that I need to be doing that this is not more important than, I guess? I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like what I'm doing right now is what I need to be doing.
Yeah.
And like if I had a family, that'd be another picture, you know? I feel like, you know, that's where, like, when it comes to the woes about dating or whatever that I go through of like, oh, like, you know, I'm 30, I'm not, you know, like, didn't find the one yet or whatever. Yeah. That's where I gotta like look at the perspective of like, dude, God hasn't brought you that person because you're not in a place to like be able to raise and provide for a family yet. Yeah. Of course he hasn't sent that person yet. I need to realize, I need to take extreme ownership right now of realizing I've chosen the path I'm on to try and be a writer-director and do something that I've not seen done before. Writing, directing, creating a career and a filmography, writing, directing the films you want to make. Yeah. And that hopefully are kingdom building and doing that within your own means. Yeah. And teaching that in an intentional relationship with Christ on a podcast, YouTube channel on the side that creates a platform to possibly even put the films out there. Yeah. And my goal starting this month is to actually record the first chapter of my masterclass for filmmaking. Nice. And the way that I'm probably going to go about that is it's going to be about a filmmaker. The main character is the filmmaker. Guy or girl, doesn't matter. This is a lot of my own story is going to go on this, a lot of story of other people, things that just kind of, I'm going to be calling to God to like inspire this. Yeah. But I'm going to do that non-linear narrative where it's like I start from the aftermath of achieving mastery with the writing, directing, and DPing and acting in their craft to where they need to be to make that their first feature film. Yeah. And start from there and then constantly jump back to the lead up to where they got to that craft and keep coming back to like, this is the start of the feature film where they've gotten to this point in their craft where they can do it this way. So I'm basically be telling that story and catching up to where I'm at right now in the feature film. Mm-hmm. And that feels like a responsibility to me, a need. I've always felt a need to do that for all my life, to make films and to teach it. I don't know why. I really don't. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like. There's a part of me lately that is getting so fed up with. Why did I choose this, or did I choose, and why did I choose this life of being an artist when, you know, everyone else ends up having a family and having a stable job? Mm-hmm. Why is it that I'm struggling and aiming to try to be like one of the best writer directors I can possibly foresee myself being, and hopefully on the level of my favorite filmmakers? Why do I feel this obligation to do that? Is that my flesh? Is that my pride, my arrogance? And is that my false self that's trying to fill myself up and not have God fill myself up? And it's tough. Like, I'm at this place of learning all of these things where you can fill yourself up and when you should be having God fill you up. Mm. And I look at everything that's been my fuel for getting me through this feature film that I'm on. And I'm looking at so many aspects of it. I'm like, yeah, this has all been driven by me trying to fill myself up. So what's going to drive me more? Yeah. What's going to continue to drive me? Like my friend who pointed out, Tom, like, it seems like you're doing homework. Like, this is more like homework to you. Do you have any idea how hard it's been all my life to figure out how to drive myself to do something to the level I'm doing it? I don't see it coming from you. Yeah. Like, and sorry to be pretty blunt, but I don't see it. I can't even watch their work.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to I'm not even going to listen to that. How do you push yourself to the level I'm trying to aim for without doing things that are inherently filling yourself up or idolizing your work or your craft or coming from a place of anger? Even Scorsese, like when someone asked him what makes you make films, what inspires you, and he's like, being angry, just being really mad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not how you want to come from making films. You want to do it from a place of like healing and improving as a person and just moving forward spiritually. You want to use a film can be a vehicle for any number of things. It could be a vehicle for improving as it can be a vehicle for becoming a worse person.
Yeah.
Whatever you make, like whatever story you're telling, the person you're telling a story about, you are basically putting the cart before the horse, and the horse is going to catch up with the cart. It's a weird way of putting it, but like you basically throw a grappling hook of where you want to be as a person when you write that first, who that character is. That's why you don't do outlines, because you want it to be that you throughout the story, you can keep finding out greater distances to throw that grappling hook.
Yeah.
Like when I did this feature, before this one, I was trying to write something based on an outline that I spent months writing, and it actually became very dark. And I threw a grappling hook, but that grappling hook didn't move.
Yeah.
So it actually brought me down. When you write a film, you can, when you write a film, you're throwing that grappling hook where it's improvised. You're not using outline. You're finding out where it could go each step of the way.
Yeah.
But, and I actually thought about this before, an improv film where you don't know how it's going to unfold, you're figuring it out as you shoot it. That's something I actually thought about before, and I was thinking about that before doing this one. Dude, if everything fell apart, that might be the direction to go. Yeah. Is like, all right, I'm going to tell a story, but I'm not going to have a script. Yeah. I'm going to sit down with actors and we're going to figure out the first scene, and we're going to say, hey, this is what the first scene is. But you know what? I tried getting actors together for something like that. No one had the motivation. Yeah. People don't want to do that stuff. Yeah. There's a YouTuber named Joel Haver who does improv film. Yeah. Are you familiar with him? Yeah, and I couldn't really watch through it. Really? Yeah. You don't like it? Like when I think of an improv film, I think of like Wong Kar-wai, where like he would figure out the script the night before for the scene to do tomorrow. Wow. And when you watch his films, there's something magical about them, but they're not the films that inspired me. Yeah. That got me into filmmaking. I love them. Don't get me wrong. I really like them, but like Nolan is the kind of filmmaker who inspires me. So yeah. I think I would just can that idea. That's not even a possibility, because I even tried doing that before we started filming. I tried getting people together to do that. I think this is just me trying to think around like what my responsibility is, which is to make this film. Yeah. And to hit just to watch my life unfold or end up with a heart rate monitor in metaphor. So, like I realize I think what it is the panic of, if I'm wrong, my conscience and my life and my finances are going to get seared big time. Yeah. If I'm wrong. And here I am making a podcast called Moviemaker Ministry, where it's about how to write and direct narrative films when I don't even know if someone can do it anymore. Yeah. I don't know. Like it's all from a pipe dream of like, if maybe this will work, maybe this will work, maybe this will work. And because I want to just make movies, dude. And I don't know why. That's all I want to do. And then like other than, go to church and be in a relationship with God.
Yeah.
Like in terms of work, I just want to make films. I don't want to do anything else. And so yeah, just finding yourself getting beat down with that. It's kind of it's rough, but I don't know. This is me just brain vomiting, venting at this point. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're betting on yourself. It's like, do you believe it? I mean, do you believe in yourself legitimately? And I mean, at this point, you have to. It's like last year. I went to the cabin with my boys, and there's this rock that we usually jump off, and the tide was like pretty low, or the river, I guess. It wasn't a tide, but the river was really low. And so instead of jumping from like one rock to here, we're now jumping 2 rocks. So you have to jump off this one and over this second rock to hit the water. And it's like, it's a lot further distance. There's a lot. If you hit the rock, I mean, that's a long fall. It's like, 8 to 10 feet falling. It's like, it's not really a nice fall. And so it's scary, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to front flip into the water. And I was so scared because I don't want to hit my head. I don't want to hit my back on the rock. None of that. But what I realized is if I jump, I'm just going to have to do it. And if I don't do it, I'm going to hurt myself. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to happen. Now I'm in midair. If I bail now, I'm done. So you have to do it. So jumping is the means of actually doing it. Even though it's scary, you're going to force yourself to do it. And like I coach gymnastics, and after the gymnastics lesson, they do cheer. And some of the girls who are the flyers, like they're up in the air, they get very scared and trying to do some more advanced tricks, they bail halfway through, and it causes more problems than if they just committed to the trick. And it's so scary to commit to the trick, but what's even worse is bailing, because people can't catch you when you're going like this and you're flailing and you're falling towards their heads. Like, it's a lot harder to catch you. You really have to, and if I'm spotting, I have to get in people's way, and it's just like, if you just did it, it would happen. You know what I mean?
Dude.
You see what I'm saying?
I feel like right now that's the perfect analogy for where I'm at.
Yeah. You're just in the middle of the air.
I'm just in the middle of the air, and I got to make sure to not start flailing.
Yep. Yeah. Because if you give them now, you're done.
In terms of this and presence, I actually am planning for the future, and presence for planning in the future.
Nice.
I did the other day. I just felt myself being so disillusioned and whatnot, just not having the energy. But what helped me was I actually in prayer looked over my entire year.
Oh yeah.
And I actually prayed on how many podcasts should I do this month? 4 in April. All right. So this is the 3rd. We're going to do it. The 4th is going to be the masterclass I record. So I'll have, before even April's there, I'll have it covered with podcasts. I just got to edit them. I've also got, and like this last month, I actually had a short form, a YouTube short every day or twice a day.
Oh, yeah.
I've had a YouTube clip from a podcast every day, and 3 full-length podcasts. Wow. So that was pretty decent. I want to do better. So it's going to be probably a clip a day, or more than a clip a day. 4 podcasts this next month, and shorts or once or twice a day. Yeah. So that's been pretty good. And then I think my goal is to do 3 shooting days next month, April, if I can. I haven't scheduled anything. I think what I'm going to just do is paint my room, repaint my room, and then use that to film the scenes I need to film in there. We could probably do it here. I'd rather just not cause you more trouble. Just do it at my house. And then get maybe something else in the books. I'm already starting to schedule things out for the next month, because I also did a plan of like, what else do I do the next months? Yeah. All through the rest of this year. And I just figured, all right, I want to do that, this for this for that. And I prayed on each thing, and my goal is to hit each objective, and like almost like it's a grade for school. It's like here's if I hit.
So it is homework.
Yes, it really is. You know what? It really is homework now.
Yeah.
Like my goal is to not get a failing grade.
Yeah.
But like my hope is to get 100% each month if I can, because that'd be really good.
Yeah.
And keep me on schedule. But I actually looked at, I don't know if we are halfway through. I think we're a little under halfway. Mm. And it's like 21 days in, 25 to go. And wow. I miscalculated because I thought we filmed all the scenes in the new apartments. We didn't. We had to do something else, the bedroom stuff. So yeah, just, this podcast will not be useful unless the film's successful.
Yeah.
Because like me teaching a master class when I'm actually successful at the film, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. So like, yes, I'm doing podcasts, but like I can't prioritize over prioritize the podcast. I can't over prioritize the film because both of them feel integral. And so yeah, just I need to, and also the premiere thing. I've not been balancing that really well. I got to get back to that. I'm just stretched really thin right now. Yeah, and it's got a heart rate monitor to prove it. Yeah. But man, yeah, the metaphor of flailing is definitely useful.
Yeah. Yeah. You might have to cut something out. Stretching yourself too thin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to figure out. I might have to go through all of my life and just look at what are all the things you're doing right now.
Yeah. Like
I'm doing a lot of church groups. I'm doing a lot of work videos for the church. I'm doing a lot of podcasts. I'm doing a lot of film. Doing a lot of stuff. A lot of it fills me up though. Like the church stuff.
Yeah.
So like I don't like the idea of cutting that out. But I am probably overextending there. Some of those groups I can't even get to because I have another church group that falls on the same day.
Yeah.
Like I get those fill me up a lot, but I am kind of at a place like, all right, you have work to do, and this is kingdom building. It's like doing interviews with Christians is kingdom building. Yeah, like there's a part of me that's like, I think the idea of, well, what if you just focused on the podcast? Like, what if if the film didn't work out, you just focus on the podcast? I feel like I would get so undisciplined, and like the film is what's pushing me through suffering to push myself.
Yeah.
And like, that's the reason why I need to do 10 to 12 hours of prayer a day. Like on like the off days, I learned how to have an off day and then spend 12 hours in prayer on it.
Yeah.
That's why I've learned how to pray differently. That's why I've learned so many different things. That's why I've learned to, pray to God and ask him for guidance on things. Because life just gets so difficult.
Yeah.
And then, but that's what you want. You want that path. But yeah.
Yeah. Should we
let's wrap this one up. Yeah. So any final thoughts that you want to leave?
I would say share the gospel with yourself every day. Always just remind yourself of that. And that'll push you through more than anything else could, Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna close with prayer, and then I'll popcorn it to you.
Sounds good.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this fellowship of Levi. I appreciate him and taking the chance to do the podcast, and appreciate him as a friend and a colleague, and just his role in my life as well as everyone else from the Lancaster area. And I just pray that this, something in this podcast is useful for someone. I'm sorry, God, for venting quite a bit. I definitely had a lot on my mind, and Levi has been a great listener, somebody who I can talk to about things, and and provides a great place, a great space to vent and provide, it gives people space, which is a very admirable quality that I'm trying to learn myself, is learning how to listen. I just pray that something out of this is useful for the audience, and I thank you for connecting us and all the work that we're doing together on everything. I pray that he's successful in what his endeavors are, and pray that the film that we're working on is successful, and the podcast is too, and it serves your audience, or serves your people, serves the audience, serves your people, Lord. I thank you for everything you do, Lord, and all the wisdom I've gotten from this, and that I continue to get from this, and from you, from your people. And I thank you, Lord, and I'm going to pass the prayer on to Levi.
Yes, Lord Jesus, thank you for the opportunities we've had together, and for the opportunity you've given Thomas to make this project. God, I just pray that you would bless the project, give Thomas the foresight and the ability and the endurance to complete the project, Lord. But most importantly, God, I pray that we would be kingdom builders, and that we would be members of your church who are helping to build the church, and that we are being useful pottery, Lord, pottery of made for honor. God, just pray that you would mold us into your image, Lord, and remind us of the gospel and of you every single day, God. God, I pray for our righteousness, that we would just be stronger men altogether. And Lord, I also just pray for the gifts that we have, God, that you would just bless us with discernment, bless us with knowledge and people who are able to connect with us on those gifts, and to point us to you through those gifts, not just point us back into ourselves, Lord, which is so easy to do. So, God, thank you again for the time, and I just bless the rest of our day. In Jesus' holy and mighty name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, Levi.
Yeah, thank you, man. Sweet.
Cut.
Camera cuts.
Thanks for watching the show or listening to Moviemaker Ministry on podcast platforms. I hope this served you in some way. If it has, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and leaving a review where you view the podcast. Your encouragement will help this reach others. I thank you, and I pray you have a blessed day.